Hello, everybody. Paul is going to make the show today. I'm leaving now. So I hope you enjoyed a good show with Mr. Cat. Likes listening to WWV, Tom Signal. So, hey, everybody. Welcome aboard. This is the Shortwave show. Yeah. AKA Cat Show. Yep. Maybe Paul would let me use the radio. I ain't in control anymore. Paul is in control. So everything looks right. Hey, everybody. Let's put this one just barely up. How's everybody doing? Welcome to this Shortwave radio show. We are live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is a show about radio and cats and radio and so on. Nice to have you here, everybody. And this is the Friday edition of the Shortwave radio show. We talk about radio, any kind, mostly below 30 megahertz, but we talk about almost anything radio. And my name is Joe, located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. His name is Paul, aka DX, the cat for some of you. And we are here to entertain and hope you enjoy today's show. So we are live twice a week. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 UTC. Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 UTC. And I hope that you enjoy these twice a week shows. And of course you can donate, as Mr. Rough Tough McLeod just did, on the PayPal account. If you like the shows, if you think that they are worth it, don't hesitate to give a little something via PayPal. There's a beautiful chat room with amazing people that are really, really cool, that talk about radio, that will answer your questions, that just have, you know, a nice big chat about whatever radio and whatever is interesting in the world of radio. So hope that you enjoy. We'll tune the bands today on the SDR. We'll, of course, have talk about different things. We'll talk about, you know, whatever comes up to our minds, whatever happens. This show doesn't have any official length of time. It can last anywhere from, you know, I always say to people it could last just an hour, but I don't think I've ever done that. Usually it lasts 3-4 hours. Last week was 4 hours and a half. Pretty good. On Wednesday night we were, what, 2 hours and a half, something like that. Kind of cool. I hope you enjoy our shows every week. Chat room. Let's check that out. So we have Brett Wayne, KC2NXP. Nice to have you on board, my friend. From state of New York. Nick Avondale from Romania. Nice to have you here. Bobby Burgess, WA5107 SWL. A shortwave listening call sign in Morgan City, Louisiana, USA. William Conlon, nice to have you here. Matambali, nice to have you on board from Colorado. Matthew Kelleher, nice to have you here. W0MDK or WA0080SWL. Nice to have you on board, no problem at all. There's other things in life. Yeah, sometimes reminders don't always work via YouTube. They do usually, but there could be a lot of things that sometimes make you miss the reminders for some reason. Remember the times, you know, I think it's the best thing when you want to listen to the show. Remember that we are always on fixed time, so it's like a TV show. If you remember your favorite TV shows, when they play, well, you should remember this, you know. Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 0 UT. And, of course, Fridays, 4 p.m. Eastern and 20 UT. If you remember that, you know we're always there at those times. What else? David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board, my friend. And yes, I put the pirate flag up on the analog side of the room, which is now much more interesting to see. And let's get this back up now that Mr. Paul has left the room. What else do we have? Jerry DX, nice to have you on board, my friend. PLF Radio, bonjour et bienvenue, PLF Radio de la France. Toujours un grand plaisir de vous avoir parmi nous. Scott Cranston, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts. 45 unit, nice to have you here, my friend. What else do we have? Brent, nice to have you here from Brockville, Ontario, Canada. As usual, I get these vibrations from my phone all the time. And I'm kind of wondering. John Fisher, checking in from with email from Massachusetts, KC1FTJ. Nice to have you here, John. And he's getting some coffee brewed up and settling down to enjoy what will be another great show. Nice to have you here, John, as usual. And if you want to check in, by the way, by email, because some of you don't have Gmail accounts, and maybe so you can't really join in the chat, you can actually join in via email. Just send an email to officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com, and I'll put it in the chat room. So official, oops, wasn't right. Official shortwaveradio@gmail.com. Just say hi, and I'll make sure that I check through the show where we can I can say hello to you at the same time. So you won't be in the chat room, but you'll at least be able to check in and say hello. Don't forget to always mention where you are from. It's always nice to see where everybody is. Cyberflyer1, nice to have you on board from the UK. Yeah, Bobby. Well, Paul was outside, and because he'd been outside for about an hour, I thought, man, I'm going to go check out. And he saw me from the second neighbor yard, and he started running like crazy to come home. I was like, okay, I'm going to wait for you. Sean Pickney, nice to have you here from Virginia, W3XWT. NDRC, nice to have you on board. And yeah, pretty good week. 28,140 in the UK. Oh, 28,410. So 10 meters open in the UK, apparently. PLF Radio, did I change something in my office? Well, I actually cleaned it up because I needed to have a better, kind of a better office. So last time I showed you Paul the cat, I was showing you around, and you guys could see that it's a big mess. Well, now, instead of a big mess, when I turn my camera that side, you could see that it's a beautiful and nice setup for the analog show that you guys have. And of course, these are two of the lighting systems that I use. And of course, on that side there is two more spots with my radios and all the cabling stuff. So this is what it looks like on that side of the room. The only part that's still messed up is that side, which is here with that weird Halloween type tree that's right here. So kind of a weird thing, but that is the side that we kind of never show really and don't have to show. So that's what it looks like. So it's much more beautiful. Last time that I did that, went through the room, you guys that were there probably remember it was a big mess. And that was not the best thing. So reorganized the room and cleaned removed the air conditioning. I don't think we'll need the air conditioning anymore as temperatures have been quite low. We even had maybe, I didn't see, but it's not impossible that we might have even had our first frost this week because it was really cold. I think it's yesterday morning. When I woke up, it was +3 Celsius, so barely above zero. Keegan, XN80X, nice to have you on board, my friend, from Northwest Arkansas. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. We're on the air. Nice to have you all here. William Helms, nice to have you on board from Florida, as usual. Mark Elford, nice to have you here. Bought a early Grundig last week. It's very good compared to my 60s Deltec Shortwave. Oh, cool. What's the model? Kind of curious to know. Matt says F2 layer shooting up at the moment. Let's just go up and check out. Just check out here the CB band. We'll stay here on 27025 a little bit just to see if anything pops up. Jason Francis, good afternoon, my friend. Nice to have you here. David, darn internet. Vince Perrault, salut et bienvenue, mon ami. Toujours un plaisir. Keegan has reception with the Ethon Grundig Edition, Field BT Edition. JDX says, must be getting cold, Montreal. You're wearing a sweater. Yep. I actually resist turning on the heating until really it gets kind of cold. And I turned on the heating for the first time this morning. When I woke up, it was 16 degrees in my apartment, which is about 60 Fahrenheit. So when I woke up, you know, in your underwear, just at 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you're like, yeah, it's kind of cold. I think I'm going to put the... outside it was maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 degrees Celsius. You know, upper 30s. So I thought, okay, it's time to turn it on. You know, with that smell of the heating that turns on for the first time after, I don't know, 6 months, 5 months of being off. It reminds me every time that I turn on the heating in fall for the first time after months. The smell reminds me kind of an old tube radio that you turn on. Jason Francis is in Ottawa. No problem. It's nice to have you here. A lot of you I kind of remember because I see you all the time, but there are still some people that it still doesn't register that much. David is in Atlanta, Georgia. Eyebrawler, nice to have you here in Indiana. Pretty cool. 45 units says 85 degrees Fahrenheit in Florida. That's kind of much warmer than here. Here it's, my thermometer says it's 10 Celsius. So that amounts to what? About 50 some Fahrenheit. Brent says the room looks great, very impressive. Cool, thanks. And nice to it feels good also. You know, when you have been living in a big mess for months, it feels good when you put things in order and things look great suddenly. And even the room looks bigger. Because this is actually a pretty big room, honestly. Everybody that comes over here for the first time, they look at my office, which is so my office is probably as big, if I look at it, yeah, almost as big, if not as big as the living room, which are the two biggest rooms in my house. So when people come to my office, they look at the room and say, wow, this is a big room. I say, yeah, it's a big room. It's as big as I could, you know, I could use this as a living room and have the other side as an office. It would be almost the same. It's slightly bigger in the living room. It's probably a couple of feet bigger, but these are two big rooms actually, which compensate for the fact that the bedroom is a very small room, and the kitchen is a pretty small also. You know, when I have friends over, when I have more than 4 friends over. And we're gonna have, you know, dinner or supper here, I always take the kitchen table, put it in the living room because there's more space. And I hate having people watch me cook. So at the same time, it helps because people are in the living room, they are talking, and they're busy, and I'm alone in my kitchen doing the food, you know. So, what do we have? Oh, this is weird. It's the second time that that happens. I see this black screen pop up from time to time. It's as if I've updated the NVIDIA graphics card on this machine, and it's sometimes I have the impression it kind of kicks in, kicks out. There's something wrong with that driver. I'm probably going to issue another one. So MDK2 has a G5 RV antenna, and he's quite impressed. Cool. William Helm, Sony's EFS B15 baby boombox to the left. When you looked at the analog side, I would guess, yes, it's a Panasonic boombox actually. It was owned by my mother. That is actually, I took it out of the closet. It had been in the closet doing nothing for the past 12 or 13 years. So my mom died in 2008. So she used it until 2007. So that means 12 years without being used. And I had put that boombox in the you know, with all the junk that I have. And the other day I came across a couple of months back, I came across a box of 4-track cassettes, and I decided, hey, I wanna check that out. And I remembered that I had my mom's boombox, and I said, oh, I'm gonna use that because I've also found I don't know if where is it? Where is it? Close by. It was I don't know where I put it, but I also have my old Sanyo Walkman that unfortunately isn't near because I would have shown you guys. So I have the old Sanyo Walkman somewhere, and that I also took out, and that still works, but the sound is kind of wobbly, as if maybe the strap is kind of. Oh, I'm hearing some. There's some sporadic E-skip happening here, because I'm hearing some signals a little bit. They're weak, but they're there. I'm hearing some signals on 27025. Yeah, I don't find it here, but I got a boombox somewhere. So anyways, I thought about it and I took it out. It works great. It's a Panasonic boombox, and it was a Christmas gift that I had given to her somewhere in like 2001 or something, because she liked to listen and record music that she was listening to on the radio. And I actually have here a box with at least 50 cassettes that she actually recorded off the radio, and I've been actually putting one of these cassettes in the radio from time to time and listening to a side, listening to the type of music she was actually recording off the radio. Kind of funny. VD3KRP, nice to have you here. Fast Eddie in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Fault, nice to have you on board from Northeast Tennessee. 94 in Atlanta. Wow, that's hot. JDX Prairies had like 6 feet of snow. Yeah, they had a lot of snow there. It was crazy. Mickey Delmage, nice to have you on board. And all that screaming from Greenfield Park. Yeah, yeah, I saw that. Sheldon was off the wall with his Seahawks football game. JDX, my ICOM RE500 will keep me warm. Yeah, I need to do something with that. Scott Cranston, first frost advisory of the year here in New England. We are having another one tonight. I don't know if it's going to freeze, or we're supposed to be like 1 or 2 degrees. It's going to be pretty cold once again tonight. You know, it's that time of year. October usually is the first frost. And by the end of October, usually, we see our first snowflakes. To have snow on the ground usually is not before at least the end of November, early December. Tristan Patty, nice to have you here in Newfoundland. FX2 Mark 8, nice to have you here from Michigan. You never know. You know, they're expecting the long-term forecast for Montreal is expecting that the winter is going to be really cold and snowy. So you don't know. Randy, Riverside, California. Nice to have you here. Shelly Sykes is saying hello in Chile, Pennsylvania. Miles Fisher, nice to have you here from Kentucky. Pretty cool to have everybody on board, my friends. John Pickney, nice to have you here. He's got an MFJ 941C. John Pickney says the G5RV, I guess, or in Wyndham, were used at my now ex-wife's parents' QTH. You need to get that back. You need to get that back. What else do we have? René Charbonnier, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Keegan says 4 feet of snow east of Glacier Park, Montana on September 28. Wow. That's winter. What else do we have? Michael Satterfield, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Let me just find where I was in my chat room because I lost my spot. So Michael Satterfield, nice to have you here from Clemson, South Carolina. Benny Smell Massaoud, nice to have you on board. Bonjour et bienvenue from Algeria. Pretty cool. And yes, please do visit. Post the links, Matt. Post the links to the WWV videos. You can even post the link to your channel in general. Please do so. Please do so. With great pleasure. I wanted to do a video, and I need to do one. I'll do one. I'll try to do one tonight. Mark Alfred listened to the Seattle game last night on a 1917 KC Crystal radio. Wow. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. Ellen321, nice to have you here from Norway. Hope it isn't too cold over there. GERF, nice to have you on board, says Big Western Howdy from Longmont, Colorado. Nice to have you here. VE3KRP, 11 meters open, 27025. I am getting some signals. It's not super, well, that one was kind of strong. That one was kind of strong. Let's put a little more volume here. You guys can probably hear it. That's channel 6CB. I'm going to check 10 meters. Out of curiosity. William Helms Daniel, I got a 1986 Walkman MGR62, one of the best I have. Look at that, channel 6CB. Whatever he said, come on. So it seems that the upper range of frequencies that I talked about that were really quiet while I was doing my megahertz by megahertz videos is open. Let's check out 10 meters. Checking out 10 meters. I don't see much happening on 10 meters right now. Let me hear, what's that? Nope, interference. Don't you hate it when you see something and you click it and it's some kind of slow interference? So the upper range is open right now. Got it nice. Man. What else do we have? What else do we have? Mark Alfred is on Vancouver Island. Pretty cool. Nice to have you here. Helen Wheelie. Nice to have you here, my friend. V01001 SWL. Short walk from the Atlantic Ocean shorelines. Nice to have you on board, Helen. Cool. Frank Donovan. Nice to have you here from Morganza, Louisiana. Cool. Cool. What else do we have? Tube to Holland. Nice to have you on board. Paul, PD1PME. Nice to have you on board. Yeah, break 19. I don't know why. Did you guys do that? I remember when we when I would do CB when I was younger, I actually had a different style of language. It's kind of weird. Richard McLeod, nice to have you here. Brother Stern under Gene Scott seem to dominate the shortwaves of today. Well, not as much. Dr. Gene Scott has a few spots. Brother Stern I hear less than I used to. There's still some frequencies and some times when Brother Stern do absolutely dominate, but not all the time. Robert Page, nice to have you on board. Page Master from Moore, Oklahoma. Nice to have you on board. Signing in from email. Michael, nice to have you on board. Watching from Washington, D.C. Nice to have you on board, my friend. And once again, anybody wants to say hi through email, officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. And this is... it's great to have everybody here. It's always fun to have all of you, for sure. What else do we have? GRF says, I'm hearing weak signal on 28400. Sounds like a Spanish accent. So it may be trans-equatorial skip from south of the border. Hard to believe with the solar flux so small. Yeah, it could be some sporadic E also. Sporadic E skip can happen at any time, even though there are some specific moments where often there are more. But it could be sporadic E also happening. I know there's a sunspot, but it's not pushing the solar flux high enough, I don't think. Brent is hearing the same CBers in Brockville, Ontario. Cool. Shitty Pyro 90, nice to have you on board. Holding steady on 27025 between S5 and S7 on the Jasper, Georgia SDR. So cool. John Ritson, nice to have you here, my friend. 2E0JGR. And totally understand that. Work, and work is a lot of things that prevents us from doing what we want and what we like. This is my work, so I got to show up. This is my work, actually. Simplio, nice to have you here, my friend. PLF radio CB signals are narrow and ephemerate. Here in AM, here in North America, CB radio is in AM mode or single sideband. Narrow FM seems to be pretty much a European thing for CB, because here in North America they're really in AM mode. Yep, Keegan, Super Bowl 6. Shady Pyro 90, they must be getting on down like James Brown, as I like to say. GRS says, yes, I started out as a CBer in the 70s during the height of the craze. I used to do all the slang. Same here. I had like that special language, because even in French we had that special language, you know. Breaker 19. Kind of nice. It's nice to see the bands open on the upper frequencies. Andy Colley, nice to have you here, my friend. GRF is KD0GS now. Left CB behind in the 80s. Well, I still got my CBs. I got some walkie-talkies, 40-channel walkie-talkies, 4 watts. I got on the floor over there a 102-inch whip that I actually should put up. You know what? I got an idea. If I don't use my sloper, why don't I put up my 102-inch CB antenna and plug in my 40-channel CB on it. That could be an interesting idea, because I have to say that as time goes by and the loops that I have, I'm thinking that less and less my sloper is now going to be required. It's very noisy, and honestly, I have no desire to tune it with the sloper when I tune the bands. So I could leave the sloper up if I want to tune, but take the coax and put up my 102-inch CB antenna. I think that would be the good idea. I think that would be perfect. And maybe that's what I need to do finally. Maybe I found a use for my that coax that comes from the kitchen. David Provo is listening in this afternoon from Lakewood Ranch, Florida. Nice to have you on board, David. Pretty cool. Simply Obadi Uniden BC75 XLT since last time I was here. As fair receive on 25 to 30 megahertz. Cool. Cool. It's possible. You know, there's a sunspot, Matt, on the sun. Maybe it's just boosting just enough that we can get some 10-meter activity. When I was listening a lot to the upper frequency ranges in previous solar cycles, I remember that it didn't require a lot of push from the sun to actually have the 10-meter band open. So maybe it's that sunspot. What's the solar flux? I'm just out of curiosity. I'm going to check it out here. So let's first look if the sunspot's still there. Sunspot has disappeared. Solar flux is 68. I don't know. Maybe it's you never know with these. You know, that's propagation. You never know what could happen. Honestly, you never know. Yeah, well, sporadic E-skip is kind of a summer event usually, but it can happen anytime. I've heard sporadic E-skip quite often. If it's in the daytime, if in the past couple of days and in the next weeks, for example, it's usually afternoon, it's possible that just the solar flux for the solar activity is just enough to actually spark 10-meter activity. If it's in the nighttime, then it's sporadic E-skip for sure. Matambali tuned to 28199 UR upper sideband, hoping to catch at least one IARU prop beacon. Yeah, there might be something in there. Let me check it out here. Is there something? This is no. I don't see any traces, but there could be some 10-meter beacons in there for sure. Social media is the new CB. Yeah, kind of. Shitty Pyro 90, 27455 upper sideband Spanish CB, guessing the Puerto Rico. I hear Cinco and Cuatro. So that's possible. Let's I put myself on 27555. Let's see if we get any calls there in the upper sideband. 27555. The guy just said Puerto Rico. 27555. He was talking in Spanish, and he just said Puerto Rico. So I guess that frequency range is open for calls. But you know how quiet it is? It means nobody goes there. They should. You know, that's what I say. Hey, it's calling from Puerto Rico. 27555 upper sideband. You talked to Ontario, Canada. So this guy in Puerto Rico just had a contact with someone in Ontario, Canada. So it seems it's open to the Caribbean area. Kind of nice. William Helms, my dad had 2 mobiles of the cars and a base KWN 1161. His handle was Pile Driver. Mine was Wedge, Skywalker's Wingman. Take care, Matt. Secretist Vibes, nice to have you on board. Oui, Breaker 19. PLF Radio, I wasn't completely wrong about CB and Narrow FM. So why in Europe it's an Narrow FM and in North America AM or SSB? There's no real clear explanation on that. Each areas make their own rules and regulations, and it ends up being like that. It's like, I would say it's the same as why is the North American medium wave AM band 10 kilohertz space and Europe is 9 kilohertz space? Who decided that, and why did they do that? Was there interference from North America sometimes, or it's somebody decided on a standard and that's what caught on? Simplio says 102-inch steel whip needs a proper ground plane to work right. If not, vehicle mounted at home. I got a metal shed, so it's really got a really nice ground plane, I can tell you here. It's got a really, really nice metal shed to stand on. John Ritson, why not? Never know what's still in the bands. Yeah, absolutely. I actually would like to get would like to have a single sideband capable CB, but I want to pay for a new one. I don't want to buy a $300 CB radio. But if I would get one cheap at a flea market or something, I'd like to have a single sideband capable CB. Maybe that'd be interesting. There's a few CBers around town in single sideband that kind of chit chat every night here. Could be fun. Keegan, yeah. Oh yeah, David, totally. That would be really nice. I just need to push it as far away as I can from my vertical mobile for UHF VHF. Is the sloper better above 20 megahertz? I can't say it is necessarily. Honestly, maybe not. I'm not sure. It's difficult to assess. If there would be, every day some signals, I would try it just to see. Honestly. Andy Coley says in the UK there are more hams on CB than on ham bands. Oh, really? Wow. That's kind of interesting. Jeff says CB around here is mostly truckers now, with a few fixed stations starting fights with them. Lots of cussing. Yeah. That's always been a problem of the CB band. Always been like that. Edward Hernandez, how are you, my friend? V3 KRP uses 14-inch vertical here on the SDR Play 2. Works well. Redalba 65, nice to have you on board from New York City. Nice to have you here. William Collins says CB is dead. So what else do we have here? So there's an interesting thing. So John Ritson says radio in the UK would not allow SSB or AM originally, but now it has been legalized after a long wait. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, 35 bucks. You can't leave that there, Simplio. Yeah, Flex is 68. It's pretty low. John Pickney has CIQC done anything for the Centennial? They started in 1919 at XWA. Nah, nothing. You know, it's all changed now because they've all now they were off the air, so that all that moved off the air, and now it's a mess of reactivation of stations that were supposed to be news talk, and there's just music all the time. It's a big mess, and I have the impression they don't know what to do with it anymore. Yeah, channel 38, lower sideband. That's true, Shady Pyro 90. Simply says reception, the air band of the BCE 75 XLT is really good. Duke to Holland. After seeing your videos, decided to order the MLA 30 loop. I must say that I'm really surprised by its incredible performance. For 37 pounds, got used to my end fed wire. Too much noise, solar panels. It is incredible. It is incredible. There's nothing more to say. And I'm getting rants from a lot of guys saying, well, they can't be as good as those Brooks and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, look, it is. I'm sorry, but it is. And that's it. Tristan Patty says, this week has been on the bad side for shortwave listening here in Western Newfoundland. The worst it's been since I started listening. Oh, really? There were a few nights that weren't the best, but there were some geomagnetic unrest also. PLF radio, look, the MLA 30, like any loop, could technically be used indoors, but it all depends on the environment. I see a lot of guys that have a loop antenna, not just the MLA 30, but Wellbrooks or W6LVP loop, and use it next to a window, for example, and seem to have great performance. I tried it here in my office, but it doesn't work great. In my case, there's too much noise. It really needs to be outdoors. But there's a lot of people that seem to have some really good performance indoors. So beer, FMA, it's an apple flavored beer, as we are in the time of the year where we actually go out and get some apples. So this is today's beer. I'm going to fill that up. I had started drinking a little bit before the show started while I was setting up. GRF. I'm going to put up an end-fed antenna as soon as my back feels a little better. I want to transmit again. Yes. William Helms, you solved the 4755.5 USB mystery. And what was it? Lee Burkett, nice to have you here. Made a very inexpensive loop antenna for my shortwave radio at home. I'm moving around my rooms to get the best signal. It is fun. Cool. And it is fun to create your own and have your own antennas that you build yourself also. Adds to the enjoyment of the hobby. William Lee 78, nice to have you on board. DL1HLK, that I would guess is in Germany. Nice to have you here. Yep, on the manual shed it will work great. I already have an amazing performance out of my VHF UHF antenna that is a mobile vertical, and the magnetic base just stamps on the metal shed. I mean, I'm having amazing performance out of it, and I guess it's just perfect for that. Kevin Wood, nice to have you on board from Nova Scotia. John Pickney says, I remember tram CB rigs that were huge and still ran only 5 watts. Because I believe here the regulation is that on AM you're 5 watts max or 4 watts max. but on single sideband you're allowed 12 watts PEP. GRS says, police here have gone completely encrypted, no transparency at all now. Who knows what they're up to? Oh well, I'm getting political now. Same here. You know, the Montreal police has now been encrypted for what, at least 2 years now, if not 3. They encrypted. There is still some stuff. If you listen to the, if I leave a scanner on the old police channels, sometimes you hear something. And it is definitely them, but it's something that there's not a lot of communications anymore at all. So David, 120, 137. I got 137 watching now. So hey, thumbs up, guys. William Collins says, police here and ambulance are now on Tetra. Dump the scanner. But, you know, be careful about that, because one of the biggest things about that I hear all the time about scanner radios, people say, oh, the police, look, there's a friend of mine I went to school with. He's not a big radio fan, but he had a scanner radio because he wanted to listen to the police, and he would actually use it for that. And when the police went encrypted, he told me, so there's nothing to do with that radio anymore. And I said, there's tons of transmissions that are analog. You just gonna listen to something else than listening to the cops. But there's still tons of analog stuff. If you scan the frequency ranges constantly, you will notice that there's a lot of things in there. What's the problem with scanning on frequencies is that you got to be there at that time they transmit. Sometimes it takes a long time, but I've done that this summer. I've used my one of my scanner radios, and I started scanning VHF from 138 to 174, and I let it do that one afternoon, and every time I would stop on a frequency with analog transmissions, I would take note of frequency, and I created I took like 50 channels where I put all of these frequencies. A lot of the transmissions, I have no idea what they are, but there's some interesting stuff, and there's still a lot of analog stuff. It's just that, yeah, I know that a lot of people are, you know, listen to mostly the police or ambulance or fire departments and stuff like that. Yeah, I gotta say that that's the sad part of the thing is that, yeah, maybe you're not gonna, you know. So Pagemaster says, Breaker 190, you got your ears on, come on. The greatest film about CB radio was about a song about CB that was adapted to being a film called Convoy. Oh yeah, I've seen that movie. Breaker was also an outstanding film. So 10-10 on the side. Cool, Robert. It's nice to have some CB memories. It's kind of fun. You know, I enjoyed CB. I remember being amazed because my 40 channel CB I never had when I was young. So to go back in time to that CB, which is the TRC 432 Navajo base station, I got that as a Christmas gift in, I'd say, 1984, and I didn't have a proper antenna. So what I'd done is I had read a book on antennas that would actually tell you how to do and build your own antennas. And I had in my living room, taped to the ceiling, a quarter wave antenna that I had made myself, and it would go run to the coax, you know, to a coax that would be on the CB. And the first night that I actually tried it, somebody answered back, and I asked the guy, "Where are you located?" Because I'm telling him, you know, I got a new CB, and I put up a you know, homemade antenna on the ceiling, and it's all taped to the ceiling. So every 2-3 days, I got to tape it again because there's one part of the wire that falls down because the tape doesn't hold. And that first night when I tried and I heard somebody came back, the guy was in Saint-Agathe-des-Monts, which is at least, I don't know, that must be at least 60-70 kilometers away from here. It's the city is placed high, but I mean, I was surprised. I was like, really? I'm talking that far? I was so amazed that I could make it that far. I had thought that CB was very, very local. Like, we're talking to the city here, and that's pretty much it. But when the guy replied back, I was like, wow, really? My antenna's kicking butt. GRF says, no, CB wasn't like that in the 70s. People had manners. Yeah. But there were still some idiots. I mean, there were, in the 80s when I got into the CB scene, so there were channels already with, gangs of CBers that knew each other. And I had parked myself actually on a channel because I wanted to start my own gang of CBers. And most of my friends didn't have CBs, but they had low-powered walkie-talkies, 1 watts, 2 watts, things like that. And they weren't that far away, so we were able to communicate together. And so we had our gang, and I was always on a channel 30. Channel 30 was my channel for a while, until there was a guy that was not very far from where I lived, and he always was with his gang on channel 32. And he came to the channel one day on 30 and he said, hey, you're new around here. And I said, yeah, I'm pretty new, and I decided that we were going to do something here. And he said, okay, do you want to have a little advice? He says, you are actually interfering with me on 32 because you're too close, and my CB kind of, has overmod from every time you talk. So he said, could you go down lower in frequency? So I told him, I said, well, I'm going to see what I can do. But the problem was, all my friends that had these 3-channel walkie-talkies, there was like a sale at Radio Shack, and the only crystals they had were channel 30. So I said, look, most of my friends have talkies with 2 channels, 14 and 30. So I talked to my friends and I said, well, there's usually not much on 14. So you guys want to hang on 14, which is the only channel that every walkie-talkie had. And so we agreed, and I said, okay, so we're moving to 14 and we'll be on 14. And from that on, we were okay. And the guy found it so cool that I would agree to actually move to another channel. And that guy in Puerto Rico is still talking on 27555. I just heard him talk to a guy in Chicago. So it was actually a good move, because there's something I didn't think of. Is that channel 14 was the channel with all the cheap CBs would come with. So if you'd buy a cheap CB and you had only one channel on it, it always was channel 14. So from there, the group that I had created grew with a lot more people, because the channel 14 had all this cheap CBs. So I would actually talk with other guys that were my age that had these cheap CBs, and we kind of made a nice gang. We would meet up at the park, and we would bring along our walkie-talkies, and it was great. It was so much fun. I would sometimes go out in the park with my talkie, and I would call from the park, and I would actually say, well, I'm in this park right now, so if anybody hears me and blah blah blah. I don't know, so many times I would have other kids come by. Of course, there was that odd chance of And I would think about it, but you know, you don't. When you're 15, you don't think about that really. I would think about, you know, like everybody knows where I am, so if there's some, I don't know, idiot or kidnapper or whatever, pedophile or some sort, and it did happen once with a friend of mine. I was the kind of guy that wasn't very, I don't know, we all have our way of thinking, and I remember being in the park. And one of my friends had told me, what about if, you know, this guy comes over and he's a creepy guy? And I said, you know, I'll handle the creepy guy. And, but one of my friends was, that would actually do a lot of CB also. We would talk regularly. One night, he comes over, and back then I had my Commodore computer, so we were playing Commodore games. And he says, hey, yesterday I was on the CB and you weren't there. And I said, no, I wasn't. I didn't turn it on, you know, last night, you know. He said, well, you should have. I said, I started talking to a guy that was called Big Bear. And I said, oh, Big Bear, yeah, I hear that name from time to time. That guy. And I told him, I said, that guy sounds weird. And he says, he is weird. He came to the park. I was in the park. He came to the park. And after about 10, 15 minutes, he started telling me, oh, you're cute. You should come in my car. And I was like, what? What? Really? And one night, I was talking to that guy that I politely asked me to move on to to another channel. We were talking, and I remember I asked that guy, you know the guy with the handle Big Bear? He says, oh, that guy, stay away from him. He's a pedophile. And I was like, okay, well, sounds like it, because he tried to grab my friend. You know? I was like, wow, okay. Using CB to do that. So, you know, there are creepy guys and creepy people everywhere. But, you know, it's the kind of thing you don't think when you're young. You're like, you know, this is fun, and I want to talk to other people, and, you know, it's just crazy. Keisha Escape, nice to have you here. CB is alive. It was like in the 70s. Casper Peterson, nice to have you on board, my friend. Keisha Escape, has the noise floor the MLA30 to Walbrook, though, is really low and works really well inside. Well, I can say that the noise floor MLA30 to W6LVP, MLA30 is quieter. So I would say that the MLA30 probably compares Keisha Skip. William Collin, Europeans taking over 3 megahertz all day. Jersey Bound, nice to have you on board, my friend. Nice to have you here. Vince Perrault, yeah, it's been owned by Sapporo for a while, Vince, I know. It's like they were talking, Vince, about beer the other... and by the way, guys, I'm exactly 13 minutes behind in the chat room. So just to let you know, but I'll catch up. But there was a TV show a couple of months back. They were actually talking about the local brewery and how the small local breweries now are owned by all the big guns, and that basically the majority of the beer that you buy is owned by one of the big players. And it's just crazy how it's kind of difficult almost to get really local beer from microbreweries. Brett Wayne is using his new Key X3 today. Do you enjoy it, Brett? Michael Netz, nice to have you on board. What about Brother Stare? We don't want to know about Brother Stare. GRF is not, I'm using it indoors. I don't know how it will work outdoors. Possible it could overload now. What else do we have? Tube to all in. The only modification I did on the MLA30 loop so far was replacing that super thin coax by something better and mounted a B and C chassis connector. Okay. I know that a few people did that. I saw somebody do something similar also. I actually like the tin coax because of it has to go through a window here, so it kind of works great having that tin coax for me. Bigger coax would make it difficult for me to actually bring it in. Michael Sauter can listen to the local shopping mall in his scanner. It's mostly maintenance staff and the mall security. Yeah, same here. Same here. Sometimes I put my scanner on just to listen to the local mall. Samuel Peterson, nice to have you on board from New Mexico. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Kimberly, K6YYL, nice to have you on board. Yeah, it was kind of 17-foot dipole for CB, something like that. It was. I remember it was crossing the room in a, because I had to put it in a way that it would fit, and it was great. That thing worked great, and I mean, I would wow everybody with that antenna. Matthew Bally says once in a while he catches the karaoke mic in a bar a half-mile away. Oh man. The later in the evening, the funnier it is. Yeah, it does happen. William Collin, Paul is probably in the living room. Craig C, nice to have you here. Was on CB radios all the time. We got some killer groups in Connecticut in the 80s. Some real good times. Absolutely. Absolutely. GERS says I caught up with a gang on CB Channel 14, mostly a bunch of dirtbags. I'm real lucky I didn't end up in jail. And there were some weirdos though on the CB band, but you know, there's some weirdos everywhere actually. David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board, and thanks for sharing my link, my live show on Twitter also. Nice to have you here, my friend. Nice to have you here. Yeah, common courtesy does go a long way. Absolutely, Simplio. Craig C says, I still have all my CB gear. Was talking Skip last month when we had a peak. It sure brings back the 80s when I do it here and there. I have all 3 amps also. You know, that reminds me of getting my first walkie-talkie. Actually, the first ever walkie-talkie I owned. I don't know what that was in brand, but they were my brother's. My brother had walkie-talkies in a box in a drawer, and I was about probably 12 or 13, and he was kind of going around his junk, and he had a little portable cassette tape recorder, and I remember that day he made me really happy. That day he looked at his junk and said, so my brother was 9 years older than me, so at like 11 he was 20. And he says, hey, I got 2 things for you. I said, what? And he gives me the tape recorder. And he says, here's the tape recorder. It works great. And that was my first time that I had my own tape recorder, and I would listen to music on it. You know, when you're young, you don't care if it's stereo or not. You don't care if it's, hey, it's a tape recorder, and it works. And I listen to my music, and I can record myself, and it's just fun. And so I had that tape recorder for years until it broke down from overuse, basically. And the second thing, gives me a box and says, these are yours. And he says, all you'll need is to get yourself 2 9-volt batteries. And I opened the box, and they were walkie-talkies. And I still remember, he used them only once, because he was a radio guy. That's the kind of thing he wasn't into. So he had used them once, and that's it. And they were 1 channel only, channel 14. They probably were really low power. And I remember opening the box, and the first thing that I bugged my dad for was money to buy 2 9-volt batteries. I remember bugging my dad, like, I want to have 2 9-volt batteries. I need 2 9-volt batteries. Can I have 2 9-volt batteries? You know, like in The Simpsons, when Lisa and Bart bug their dad all the time until he caves in. That was pretty much what I had done. I was like, I need 2 9-volt batteries, need 2 9-volt batteries, need 2 9-volt batteries. And at some point I was like, okay, here's the money, get 2 9-volt batteries. And I went to buy the 9-volt batteries, of course the cheapest one, because he had given me just enough money to buy the cheapest 9-volt batteries you can get. that didn't last very long. But I was happy. Put the 9-volt batteries in there, and I had 2 working walkie-talkies. First thing that I did was call my best friend and said, "Hey, I got walkie-talkies. Let's go out for a walk and talk and and have fun. We're gonna play with that." And they were kind of crappy. They weren't really doing well. We were barely making one corner street to the other, which wasn't very far. But I had talkies. But I remember, that was in some of the peaks of solar cycles. And back then, skip was crazy. And there was skip all the time. And I remember part of the reason we had a hard time listening and talking to each other was because the skip was so strong that as soon as we were just a little far away, those signals were actually overpowering whatever signal we would have. Plus the fact that these were probably very crappy walkie-talkies. But when I actually was maybe a year after that, my dad noticed I hadn't noticed that I really liked the walkie-talkies, and I think it was for Christmas, he had purchased a set of 3-channel Fanon, Fanon. They looked like a book. They were black with a silver side. There was a red push button. There was 3 channels, and those were actually better. Those we could talk further away, and I had a lot of fun with. You could have done Morse code with them. And I've seen a pair on the internet. I think it was on eBay. I saw a pair, and they were like brand new in a box, but they were kind of too expensive for what they were, but still, it was kind of nice. And once again, the other problem with that was, man, the skip was just so crazy. Simplio says, local CBers here in Oklahoma City. There's one guy named Rattlesnake. This political mumbo jumbo gets across. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that. Rodolfo 65 remembers getting realistic. Those realistic. Okay, let me just go back here because I lost my spot. Space Patrol walkie-talkies for Christmas, and clipping a long wire to the antenna and talking to truckers on I-95. I remember clipping wires to those, thinking that they would probably make the range better, Lee Burkett, yeah, the Baofeng are not welcome, and the FCC doesn't like them. The biggest problem with the Baofeng or whatever is because there's no control, so anybody buys them, which is crazy. Oh yeah, GRF, creepy people on social media. There's tons of them too. Absolutely, maybe even more. Maybe even more. Man. John Pickney says, long ago, a colleague of mine was a flight engineer on C-5As with the U.S. Air Force flying from Hickam to Kadena. You heard U.S. CBers. Dave Sidbrick 19 from the 28-wheeler. Nice. Yeah, nowadays creeps use the internet pretty much. How many wheels? Oh yeah. I got it. Yeah, 28-wheeler. Yeah. How many wheels? Absolutely. Oh man. Morion 330, nice to have you on board. Thankfully, a few local breweries are independent here. You can only go to certain shops to find them. Yeah, we still have quite a few local breweries, but man. Brent, the ML830 seems to work very well on medium wave here without overloading. Absolutely. I haven't tested too much the medium wave band, but it seems to go well. It seems to go well. PLF Radio says Preom as a new style of displaying schedules. Oh, really? Let's check that. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, it is nice. Oh, it uses dark theme, dark mode. This is nice. This is nice, actually. I like it. I like it a lot. So, no, it's cool. I like it. I like it. It's easier on the eyes, actually. What's interesting also is that have you noticed how it's easier to load? I think they changed it seemed to be like running on JavaScript or something before. What else do we have? DX the Cat is pretty good, simply. It was here at the beginning of the show. You, Calvin Morgan, nice to have you here. John Pickney, the FCC once caught a guy running a Drake L4B linear on CB. He had an intermediate amplifier. Yeah, a lot of them are running really powerful signals. René Charbonnier bought an Alinco DJX11, and I must say that it works very well with a wire antenna on shortwave. Cool. Johnny DXer, nice to have you here, W3JMC. Happy National CB Radio Day. Yeah, that's pretty much where we are. Joe Sombraniuas from Brazil, nice to have you here. 17 meters open. Let's check it out. 18135. Let's see if there's anything interesting on the. Yeah, I'm hearing Whiskey Alpha 7. I hear there's something there. Okay. Whiskey Alpha 7 Bravo November Golf. There's another station here. Another station on 130. 18130. Nice to see some activity on the upper frequencies. John Pickney, Alinco rigs aren't bad. When I was married, my then XYL had one in her car, which I mounted in the dash. Cynthia says, the same guy who did the repeated message on channel 19, I got my nightgown on, my pretty red panties, and I'm ready for bed. Oh man. Oh yeah, Keegan, I think it is that episode. They want to go to Mount Splashmore. Yep. Oh man. Yeah, you Calvin Morgan. I remember always telling everybody, where's your 20? What's your 20? Lewis Freeman, nice to have you on board from Cornwall, England. There is an episode where there is a ham radio in one of the Simpsons episodes, absolutely. I do remember there's an episode that has one, yeah. Scott Cranston says BBC, okay. BBC, Wooferton, 7310 booming. Let's try it out here. It's there. Yeah, 7310. 12095 is quite good. 12095 BBC is pretty good from Ascension Islands. For me, it's actually better on 12095 from Ascension Islands, the BBC.
Let's have a look at some of the other big sectors with showing up today. There's an ultimatum to Facebook over end-to-end encryption. What is it from?
So this is something the UK pays
So 12095 BBC is not bad as a signal, for sure. Simon Templar, nice to have you here. Rekray, nice to have you on board from Turkey. Rennie Chabagnier gets homesick for the good old days of CB. Yeah, that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun also for the, for me that was the start of radio and the start of learning radio, talking about radio. Fastload, nice to have you on board from Montreal, just north of me. Hey, Louis Freeman in the UK. Nice to have you here. John Pickney was a teenager in South Carolina. We used the Radio Shack 5-watt CB Yankee talkies and for traffic control when road racing. The sheriff looked with their Johnson CB radios. Oh man. Terry Cook. Nice to have you here. KF7BQ in Missoula, Montana. GRF says, when I got into CB, there was something magical about it. I didn't understand electronics at all and had no idea how signals propagated. Then I went to school and learned electronics. I always had the, I was a very curious guy, so I would have a talkie. The first thing I needed to do was open it up and look at how it was built inside. It fascinated me to have that circuit board there in my face and thinking, wow, this actually makes my this walkie-talkie work. And I remember just being very, very amazed at all of that. The cool moments of when you're discovering, when you're young. That's one part. You discover all the time. But I miss the, I don't know, the curiosity and mostly the everything that the new world, if you want. That when you're young, you're getting into the teenage years and you're just still understanding the world, how it works, and looking at all this stuff and wondering, wow, this is so amazing. And I was always amazed, And then you'd show that to a friend of yours that was like, huh, yeah, so? And I was more of, yeah, but that circuit does all of this. How do you do it? This is so crazy. Somebody thought of this. Somebody sat down and, decided that, well, if you put these parts together, you will do that. Crazy. Yeah, I heard 17 meter. You gotta listen regularly, simply. I've heard 17 meter voice quite a few times in the past couple of weeks. Pirate on 6945. Let's check it out. Anything here? I don't hear anything right now. But a pirate is apparently there. 6945. Tech Guy, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yeah, there was a ham radio in an episode of Family Guy. I do remember that. Isn't that the episode where there's kind of a Russian guy that answers back and says, I have a ham radio? Or something like that? GRS says, I picked up a Xiegu G90. Couldn't resist it for a little over 400. A full feature SDR rig, 20 watt QRP. Planning now on interfacing it with this computer. Cool. WOHP 1390, nice to have you on board, my friend. Nice to have you here, Rick. W8PRR. Moria 330, if I get my radio in the right spot, I'm hearing the BBC here in New Jersey. But I'm inside, so it would be better outside. Yeah, that's the that's sometimes the sad things that we have to do. You got to move to some spot that's not necessarily super convenient, but It's the way you gotta listen, unfortunately, sometimes today. David Provo says it's after 5. It's time for gin and tonic. Cheers. Brett Wayne 6945 on the KX3, and long wire is S3 in Salamanca, New York. So you're watching the Shortwave Radio Show. Hope you're enjoying our. We're almost in a CB Radio special edition here. We've been talking about CB radio for the past hour, and it all started with some activity noted on Channel 6. So kind of interesting, and it's kind of fun to go back to that time. And you know what? If we talk CB radio, hey Danny, Shortwave Radio DX, nice to have you here, my friend. We're talking CB radio. I'm gonna let's bring out. Do you guys want to see the talkies that I got? We're bringing out the talkies here. Oops. I'm just gonna bring out the little talkies here and check them out. For some reason, I find that it's dark and I don't know why. It's as if one of the lights isn't doing what it should do. So here's one. Let me just check out and take out all the CB radios here. 2. There's 3. Okay. I believe these are all the portables that I own. And here's another one. So look at that, guys. These are the CB radios, portable CB radios, because I got the Navajo TRC 432 base station over there. Ouch. Sorry, guys. Okay. So let me just put that here. And that's for the purpose of showing the CB radios. Do this. Here. Here. And here. So these are the CB radios that I, portable CB radios I own. This one was Fast Load that got this one off a, I don't know where, but for cheap, and he actually asked me if I wanted to chip in and have, buy one. So this is a 40 channel TRC 216. And actually what's nice is that my Navajo base station's microphone actually plugs in here. It's the same plug from Radio Shack at the time. So 40 channels, 4 watts I believe. Works great, still works great. This one I purchased on sale at, this is the TRC 234, TRC 234. This one has the weather channels, of NOAA weather channels actually. So this one I purchased really cheap. What had happened is that I was at, so Radio Shack here at in the shopping mall had a little table maybe twice a year where they would put the junk they can't sell for some reason. And this, which actually cost $200 at the time, and you're like, really? This was $200? Was on the junk table for $39. And the reason they had put it on the junk table $39, the antenna connector had actually broken. So the antenna didn't connect, so actually it was kind of useless. But I thought, it's $39. I probably can fix this or do something. And that's what I did. I actually fixed it. And now it works great. And I paid $39 and I was happy. And I had this 40 channel 4 watt talkie with NOAA weather channels on it. So that was kind of cool. And this little pair was on eBay for, I think it was like $20 plus $10 shipping, something like that, from a guy in Ontario, if I remember well. And I thought, I want him. And of course, these are the same, the TRC 214, in some of the episodes of Stranger Things. they are using these actually. So I posted one video on the channel with these, and I don't know how many people replied back as a comment. Stranger Things, yeah, Stranger Things talkies. These are part of the Stranger Things walkie-talkies. 3 channels. They have 3 channels in them. They are about, I think it was like 14, 19, and 30 are the 3 channels that they both have. Crystals I already had here from a long, long time ago. You know, and you guys are probably the same. You buy junk, you buy stuff, you got talkies, and one day you're like, okay, well, you know, the talkies are no good anymore. But I remember, because I had a pair of 1 watt talkies, and I had actually burned them because I had reversed the power, and they basically went up in smoke. So I threw them away back then, but what I did is I kept the crystals because I thought maybe I'll get other CB radios and need crystals. I'll keep the crystals. And these came along, and I was happy in one of my little drawers. Crystals were there for like 20 years, 25 years. And I thought, hey, I got the crystals. Put the crystals in, and it works great. So sometimes it is useful to keep junk. Sometimes it is. So that's the family of talkies, actually. Terry Cook says, weird, I don't remember seeing any ID card on our radars at the sheriff's office I worked at. At that time, our police radio service license automatically licensed us for speed radars. Brett Wayne, 6945 S9. Take care, PLF Radio. Toujours un plaisir de vous avoir parmi nous. Really, Scott? It is actually officially the National CB Radio Day. This is kind of funny. That by chance we are talking CB radio and it's happening. Johnny the Xer, Super Bowl coming in strong. Yeah, it's quiet now. Earlier when we started the show we could hear him, but really not a lot of stuff happening. There's this guy here, which is probably more of a local CB or something like that. GRF says, oh my god, channel 6, some of those guys were running 5 kilowatts or more. A lot of them are really, really powerful, I can tell you that. Jeffrey Kropp, nice to have you on board from windy, New Hampshire. Nice to have you here. Yep, 27025 is the Super Bowl channel. It's channel 6. Nice to have you here, Todd. Brent says, nice CB radio, Jill. Realistic was great. Yeah, I love those. I had a 1 watt pair that I used so many times when I was younger. When one of my friends and I, so one of my best friends, we would talk a lot. When we would meet up, we were always talking about stuff. We were kind of, you know, the 2 guys that talk about everything. And I loved radio, and he was kind of finding it cool, and I thought, you know what, when we go out in the summer days, when we talk and walk for hours, why don't we take the CB radios, we go each a different way and talk with the CB radios as we are moving around the area. And he thought the idea was fun, and we would talk and we would meet up and we would, you know, have a lot of fun with those. We did that so many times, and man, I don't know how many batteries we went through talking with these radios. I also love them, Danny Shortwave Radio DX, the old CB radios. They're kind of nice. They're kind of nice and cute. Simply 27025 peaking 23 dBm on the Radio Wow R108 with 10 feet of wire. Pretty good. Pretty good. Keegan says, someone talking about a VFO and transmitter on 27025. Moria 330, we use the same channels as the NOAA VHF channels, but here it's the Environment Canada system. But they operate with the same type of operation. So they actually are, so I can actually, even with the loop it works, I think here. 6162550. Yeah.
Showers. High 60 for Sunday night, cloudy with 70% chance of showers. Low 14 for Monday, rain. High 14 for Monday night, cloudy with 40% chance of showers. Low 11 for.
So that's one of our channels here, local channels, which is NOAA weather type, and it's Environment Canada, and they actually operate with the same types of alerts, so the same alert messages and all of that actually work. I've got the Radio Shack Pro 92 that has the same alert system. It can actually display in the LCD display those messages, and it actually works great. Like when they have these warnings and these bursts of data, the scanner actually displays on the range on the display the type of weather alert actually. So it's kind of nice, and yep. So if anybody comes to Canada with one of those receivers that have the channels for NOAA weather, you will get weather from Environment Canada on these same channels. We're using the same frequencies. Joey D, nice to have you on board. Miss the days back in the early 90s when I used to hang with other local CBers at the marina and have good chats and meetups with new CBers and lots of drinking. Cool. In the United States, GMRS is required to be licensed, and but not in Canada. William Helm says, I have a GE like those, a Cobra Night Stalker, and a 10 Plus. 10-4. Oh man. Todd says, I just picked up a pair of one-channel CB talkies from a local secondhand store. Channel 14. Yep. Channel 14 was that channel that they were actually would that would be on every cheap receiver. So Brett Wayne is showing us our this KX3. Look at that. It's a little blurry, but looks like a nice rig there. Look at that. Nice little rig. And Pagemaster says, here in the United States, the voice they use is called Perfect Paul for a male, but a female style voice is called Perfect Paulina. Kind of interesting. Kind of interesting. Oh, I got a comment off of a channel that I've never used or almost never used. Funny. So, kind of nice. Bobby Burgess, fun fact, in the Stargate franchise, radio signals can pass through the wormhole both ways. That's interesting. That would be kind of a exotic DX. I got a station from Alpha 9 thanks to a wormhole. Keegan said, from NOAA Weather Radio Fact, Canada has a weather radio network which broadcasts on the same frequencies. Yep, absolutely. Jeffrey Hunt, nice to have you on board from Portland, Oregon, USA. Yeah, here in Canada, it alternates French and English. Yeah, the basic talkies were 100 milliwatts. And you guys know why? Because up to the here in Canada, up to very early 80s, you needed a license to operate a CB radio. But there was a exception to the rule. CBs or talkies that would have 100 milliwatts or less and operate on channel 14 were exempt from having a license. So the cheapest radios for a while were 100 milliwatts on 14 so that they could, skip the fact that you'd have a license. And I believe it was in the early 80s that the license requirement for CB went away. And honestly, the majority of CBers didn't have a license anyway. Matt says, I just found a notice that Radio Emmeloord, a medium wave station in the Netherlands, will simulcast on 6095 tomorrow. Yeah, we talked about it on the International Radio Report actually last week. 6095 from 11 to 16 UT tomorrow. GRF says, I had a GMRS license for 5 years, didn't really use it, didn't bother to renew it. Something like $90 now. Well, Matt says, I heard that Canadian service back in 1983 when I was in Montreal and bought along my little portable weather radio from Radio Shack. I could tell because it was in French. You know what? I don't know if you guys remember, I had that cube. It was like wooden finish cube. That was just a little cube weather radio from Radio Shack, realistic. And it had only the weather channels. I remember that little cube. Danny, shortwave radio DX, you can't go wrong with the classic CB radio brands like Motorola, Realistic, GE, Cobra, and Uniden. They still sell these brand new CBs. I don't know how many they would sell today. But there's a store here that I was seeing a Cobra. President. They had a President. And it's brand new in a box. And it seems to be a very, very new model that they made not long ago with single sideband and everything. They're selling that thing $299. Pretty crazy. Okay. Oh, that figures 10/4, October 4th. Oh yeah. I didn't even think about that, Scott. Huh, that's interesting. Oh well, kind of cool. Yeah, we need to have a rise in solar activity someday. Maybe next year. Maybe by the end of next year. Who knows? WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you on board from Virginia. Happy Friday to you too. It does sound similar to Trenton Military. You're right, Keegan. Why forget CB? We are there. We're talking about it. David in Barcelona says, many hands here in Spain were CBers in the early days. I'd say CB was a main training ground for ham radio. So as a SWL turned SWL in ham, I'd say I'm the exception, not the norm. Well, I know that a lot of CBers from the old days became ham radio operators. Those that were really the big fans of radio. And the other chunk of ham radio operator to be were some coming off from the shortwave side. So there were, if you ask a lot of hams from the times, from the 80s or the 70s or the 60s, a lot will tell you, I was a shortwave listener, became a ham because I was hooked to radio, or I was a CBer and became a ham because I was hooked to radio. Pretty much, a lot of that did happen, and that was kind of cool. So honestly, it's a pattern for a big a lot, really, for a lot of radio listeners, honestly. Jean-Marc Letz, nice to have you on board from Strasbourg, listening and watching a French soccer game at the same time. So you got your eyes on the soccer game and your ears on the and some of so you got one eye on the soccer game, one eye on the stream, one ear on the soccer game, and one ear on the stream. Welcome aboard, my friend. Danny Shortwave says, I remember picking up Canadian Coast Guard on my SDR when I was in Niagara Falls on 161775. Do you have that in Montreal? Yes, we actually have two channels that are because here. Remember that Montreal's an island, and that the we have the St. Lawrence Seaway really coming like close to on the South Shore here. So yes, absolutely. I don't know if I can hear it with that. The best would be to use a let me use this. So let me use this one, which will be a much better radio to get that type of transmission. Honestly. So 161, that's 650, I believe, is the. Oh, here we go. So this is one of the Coast Guard frequencies, 161, 650. I'm just going to try to see if I can, whoops, and not break the antenna. That antenna is really, really delicate now. So there's one here. So this is one, and there's, I believe, 850. And that one is weaker because it's further away. And there's a lot of interference here, but absolutely, we get a couple of channels here of the Coast Guard on VHF. Actually, if you have a weather, a NOAA weather radio and you bring it here, I believe one or two of the channels actually fall on the Canadian Coast Guard frequencies also. Simply, I vaguely remember hearing the FCC lifted rule that said people weren't allowed to talk to the X station. Is that correct? Yes, there was a rule. We couldn't. There was a rule that we couldn't have DX contacts on CB radio, and it was lifted at some point. You're right on that, Simplio, because you technically on CB were not supposed to have any type of contacts except from line of sight, and DX contacts were not allowed. You're right. Brent says, I'm always amazed at your memory for a wide variety of radio topics. That just tells you that I have been on radio a long time. Sorry, guys. But I've been in radio for a long time, so there's that. And I got a great memory. It helped me through life, honestly. Every time I had a new job, I was always the guy that they would keep, because I was the guy that always remembered everything. While the other guys would always ask 4 times or 5 times. So it helped me tremendously, and it helps me, of course, obviously, in the radio topic. But I was a real radio geek also, so I read on and used radio so much that it's all here. All here. Matt says, my grandpa had the same weather cube, Joe. I think it was how I learned that there was such a thing as weather radio. Lee Burkett says, I still have my first Moonraker receiver from the 90s. Wow. This is great. Joey D says, lots of new CBs are mostly mobile and are gimmicky. Yeah, that CB, that President CB they have there is a mobile. CB base stations. I've not seen a store sell a CB base station in ages, honestly. WF7I own Bruce says, I own one of those Radio Shack weather cubes in a box in my basement. Wow. I mean, it probably does still work. If I remember well, you pop a 9-volt battery in there. I do have one here that Fastload gave me. Comes from his dad, I believe. If you guys want to see a, I'm just going to bring it here because it does work, and it does have battery in it. So this is a Midland weather monitor, and so this is what it looks like. Midland weather monitor, and actually it's it has this little place there with this power supply, but if I turn it on, so when I turn it on, it's in weather mode, like alert mode. So this little light, LED red light, is actually you don't see it really well, but if I press weather,
13. The UV index for today is 5 or moderate. For Saturday night, clear, becoming partly cloudy overnight. Winds becoming south 20 kilometers per hour, gusting to
and they have the alert
+1.
that you can.
Today, air quality good.
It technically should, when they have that alert tone in the weather, this should actually, if you keep it on alert mode, if you keep it on alert mode, so now it's quiet, but it's still turned on. So that's why you could leave it with a power supply. And if they do the alert tone for weather, it actually unlocks the weather and makes you listen to the broadcast. But there's also a alert tone, if you want, where it actually will actually make you hear a tone, if you want, instead of a so here, if I do it, mode, alarm, so there's LED, the LED blinks, so this is the LED blinking for alert, and there's the, if you want, instead of the weather, you can actually have sorry guys, so you can have it do a tone. So if there's a weather alert, that tone will be heard. I keep it in weather mode. I'd rather have the voice pop up than the tone.
Weather conditions at 5 p.m. Montreal doorbell.
So that's the Midland weather monitor that Fastload gave me. That comes from his dad, I believe. So and was purchased, I think, in the United States. So it's kind of, you know, it's an add to the radio stuff that I've got here. Simply says, celebrating CB Radio Day with the Radio R108, hearing Skipland and hanging out with Joel. Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Why not? And it's fun to see that there's some CB stuff, you know, at least. Let me check here. There's something on. There's somebody talking on 6915 lower sideband. 6915 lower sideband. Six 915 lower sideband. Radio telescope, nice to have you here. M0 ISA. GRFs. Oh, I didn't know that Radio Shack even had a WWV cube. I've never seen that. I had never seen that. Wow. 30X says, I miss listening to the truckers back in the 80s. William Helms Cadillacs had Delco AM/FM stereo CB, but cassette and 8-track, oh man. Owen F, nice to have you here from San Francisco. Kimberly, I always lived radio. My dad had a CB in the car and I was hooked. Got discouraged with A-hole on CB. Yeah, there are a lot of those there. GRF says, I'll tell you, the MD30 Gets real depth above 30 megahertz. The yeah, the MLA30. Well, these antennas are made for shortwave, not for the VHF, UHF. Eh? Todd is also National Taco Day. Oh, that'd be good. Jason Shaughnessy, nice to have you here. Always wanted to one of those old home-based CB rigs from the 70s, the ones with beautiful wooden panels and built-in clocks. A guy at a local flea market that I went to has one. It is a it's beautiful. It's a 40-channel CB rig, wooden style cabinet with clock, and it's all chromed in the front. But he's asking way too much for it because it's so beautiful to look at. It's just amazing. Man, crazy. So what else do we have? Yeah, telescopics. Brent says, I was down in Montreal. Sheldon said you aren't able to turn right on red signals on the island. I never knew that. Good thing you told me, or I would have definitely gotten the ticket. Yeah, you on the island of Montreal, it's not something you can do. You can do it anywhere in the province except where it says no. But on the island of Montreal, you cannot turn right on a red signal light. Joey D says, okay, I've always wondered, what are those black things that are in the middle of the antenna on a walkie-talkie? So these are coils, actually. So the antenna needs to be tuned to the frequency. Actually, I'll reuse this, and you're going to see what's inside. So this one has a, I can remove the coil, so look at that. It's a coil of copper wire. So the reason they have that is because to tune the antenna to a specific band or frequency, they often use these coils to actually have it tuned perfectly. If you remove that coil, that antenna isn't the length required to resonate. And because these are transmitters, you know, on a reception side, it's better to have a resonant antenna, but on the transmitter side, it is required because you can blow the output if you mismatch, because there's too much each generated. So often on transmissions, there will be one. Yeah, I was at 150 some not very long ago, Brent. Absolutely. Record is 161, I believe. So if we ever reach or beat 161, we are on a record view. Kimberly says, left CB for shortwave and scanner listening and got interested in van radio. Got my license eventually in 2009, and she loves it. Cool. Cool. Noam Collins says, love the channel but never can pick up. Always Wednesday. You'll remember the time and you'll be there. Shelly Sykes bought a realistic walkie-talkie when I was in the army and used it as CB when I had to hitchhike. Back in the 70s, would never advise hitching now. Jerry wants a SSB CB radio and talk on 11 meters. Well, a lot of, we shouldn't talk about that, but a lot of ham radio gear is modifiable to work on the 11 meter band. Hint, hint. It could also be used for pirates. I suspect a lot of people do. Dr. Sisop, nice to have you on board from Florida. John Pinckney says, my grandfather bought my grandmother one of those weather cubes. It's somewhere in my basement, yeah. A slightly older shack weather radio that was blue handheld. Still have it. Simply started having interest in radio in 93. Wow. Take care, Simon Templar. It was nice to have you here. GRF, amazing how similar Canada is to USA. Yeah, there are some differences. Don't worry, there are some differences. Circuitous Vibes, nice to have you on board. Well, no, you were already there. I inherited my grandfather's realistic weather radio. Faux wood, yeah, it wasn't real wood. It was just a paper wooden looked thing that was glued on the plastic of the cube, actually. 9-volt battery, old school, still works, love it. Reminds you of being your grandpa. Yeah, there are things like that. What model number is that Midland? I got the WR120. This is the weather monitor 74109. So yeah, 74109 is the model number. It's here at the top. Weather Monitor 74109 by Midland. So it's kind of nice. Hirofumi Yokoyama, nice to have you on board from Japan, my friend. Oh, really? CB World, they sell this. Well, I went to the websites of the big manufacturers of CB radios. They all have base stations and different models. I mean, there are some available. It's just that I'd be curious to know how many of those they actually sell every year. Danny Shortwave loves his Uniden Brickhead 980 SSB, great mobile CB with SSB, and has the weather band. Paid around $70 on Amazon. Oh, would need to look into that. Oh yeah, WF7I. I remember when they used actual human voices. Absolutely, I remember when, like, you know, bad weather would actually would come, and they would have to announce that, you know, weather alerts. And they would have to kind of rush into doing the weather alert. You know, there'd be somebody coming by, and you could hear that it was like, okay, this is out of the regular stuff that we do. We need to do a weather alert because there's, you know, strong thunderstorms or something. Oh man. Rest in peace, headphone listeners. It is going to wake up the neighbors. Don't worry, William. I can tell you that Paul the cat needs a lot more than that to be scared. Dr. Sisop, can you pick up weather stations in New York or Vermont? Yes, absolutely. I usually get the 162.400. There's a lot of interference right now because we're inside, but it's usually an easy target for me. 162.400 is the Burlington, Vermont weather station, giving out the weather on 162.400. It usually comes in well. Here we're inside with all the interference, so I can't get it. I'd have to. Unfortunately, my ICOM isn't plugged on the VHF antenna right now because I'd have you guys listen to it. Circuitous Vibes says, listen to your grandpa's realistic weather cubes during monsoon season. Wow. Yeah, no, it's weather alerts that could be on the smartphone. That's true. That's true. Rocket Devil, nice to have you on board. The software that's on the PC is SDR Uno, and it's plugged to a RSP1A software-defined receiver that is actually now moved to a closer place. So this is the SDR Uno receiver. So what I'm receiving there is received with this. This is the radio receiving it. The SDR Play RSP1A receiver, and it's plugged to Core i5 laptop, and works great. Nice to have you here from Germany, my friend. else do we have? Simply, the WWV cube from Radio Shack had a wood-like laminate on it. Huh, interesting. Because the wood-like laminate on it was the weather one. Hey Rob, nice to have you here. Like there's this Cobra 2000 GTL sounds like. What else do we have? We found the WWV cube from Radio Shack. Kind of interesting. Sold it. I'd sold for 20 bucks. Yeah, I don't remember how much I paid for that little cube. It wasn't expensive. I remember buying that little cube and coming home with that little cube. I was like, yeah. Lee Burkett, I'm thinking about buying a new mag mount aerial for my Midland rig now, Jill, for Christmas. Loads of CB talk. Cool. Why not? Let's revive that CB band. Toby Allen, nice to have you here from Norway. Just started to get interested in ham radio. Hope it is okay to be listen and watch your stream for more inputs on this hobby. Absolutely, and you got questions, anything you want to know, we are here for that. We are here to help out. We are here to have fun with radio, and you're totally welcome. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We are here on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. That's 0 UTC, technically Thursday. And we are here on Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 UT. And basically, you're at the right place if you want to learn more. Juan amigo, ¿cómo está mi amigo from Barcelona? Nice to have you here. Yeah, made in China, Dr. Sisup, absolutely. Lots of guys talking. 6915 lower sideband. 6915 lower sideband. Is that a scanner behind me? If you're talking about that here, yes it is. It's the Realistic Pro 2006. If you're talking about this is a handheld Pro 92 trunk tracker. And this is the ICOM ICR20 general coverage receiver. So lots of stuff. Bob T, nice to have you on board from cool Northeast Ohio. My producer was here at the beginning of the show to make sure everything was all right. The R20 comes with a telescopic, a regular telescopic that can be bent. I don't know if I've got it close to me to show you guys. I don't think so. But I use my telescopic with the this telescopic on it, which is much better in performance for listening in fast low. Joey D, what do you prefer, the computerized voices or the human ones? Here in the States, they change the voices. You know, it of course adds a very unique thing to you know, it's like listening to the weather broadcasts from Chesapeake, Virginia, the marine weather stuff. It's all computerized voices today. Of course, it sounds a little weird, but like on the NOAA weather side, it was kind of interesting to see and hear the feel of something unusual happening, and they had to scramble to kind of be there and do the announcements. Morning at 3:30, getting WWV 15 megahertz clearly. 10 wasn't bad. Bit before CHU on 3330. Let's check out 15 megahertz. So 15 megahertz is here. 10. 10 also coming in. CHU is pretty good on 3330. There's some fades, but it's there. So kind of nice. John Pigney says there was the Siltronics 1011 XCVR. It was 100 watts out on 10 meters, but had transmit and no transmit on CB, but there was a yellow wire inside with a tag reading do not cut. Transmit on CB will be enabled. Yeah, you know, that's like an invitation. You know, you put this big sticker and it says, don't cut this thing because you'll be transmitting on other frequencies. Okay, snip, snip. It's done. It's almost like they wanted that to happen. They actually did it because they wanted that to happen. Alok Yadav, nice to have you here. After watching my review, order the Texan PL380. You'll enjoy that radio. It's a nice radio and you'll have a lot of fun with it. That's for sure. And welcome aboard. Fast load, Jill, you need that ham license. Yep, I know. When I have time. I'm trying to find time to. Just trying to find time to live my life and do all I need to do, and I need to find time for that somewhere. WF7I, I was wondering your thoughts comparing the County Com unheld to the D808. The County Com is nice, but the D808 XH Data D808 honestly is a better receiver. If I had a choice, this would be the winner. Actually, if I had a choice of any portables right now, this is the big winner. XH Data D808 is an amazing radio. All I can say. For a portable receiver, it's just darn so amazing. So amazing. It's crazy. Yes, I know WF7I. The one behind me on the top shelf. So on the top shelf, I've got, oh, okay. Yeah, this is my old Radio Shack Pro 43. That I remember one of the first things I had done when I purchased this one. So I wanted this one for one unique thing. It was the first scanner that Radio Shack had sold here that had the that was portable and that had the military UHF band, 225 to 400 megahertz. That's what made me actually buy this, and the fact that you could remove a diode and receive the cell band and receive all the cell calls. The cellular bands and receive all the cell phone calls. And I use this a lot. And the only military stuff I heard on this was when there was a big Air Force base in Plattsburgh, New York. They would have a lot of exercises, and planes were up almost every day. And if I scan the frequencies, often I would hear the planes when they're up in the air. And when the Air Force Base closed down in Plattsburgh, New York, I never heard any military stuff after that. We don't really live near a military base here in Montreal, so there's really nothing I've heard. Of course, you can hear some of the air traffic control because it's kind of a duplicate. On the UHF, you got some comms from the VHF air band also. But this has been a good scanner. The Pro 43 is still today, even in the speed that it scans, it's still today one of the best scanners out there. For, you know, a good old analog style scanner, this is still today one of the best ones out there. I really love that Pro 43. I got too many radios. Or do I? William Collins says, I believe people don't regard this NGN 909X. I have 100 feet antenna, never get rid of it, pick up lows amateur, very sensitive. With 100 feet of wire, it is absolutely great. You are right on that. The NGN 909X is deaf on the telescopic. You know, I got the equivalent. I got a Radio Shack DX398, which is the original Sangean 909. The one thing that I've seen while actually reading on the Sangean is that the 909X has a beautifully more modern look, but inside it seems to be similar to what it was originally. And on a telescopic antenna, it's deaf. It is deaf. The 909X, I've read so much on it, it's deaf. But put it on a long wire, and one of the things that happens is that it becomes a great radio, and maybe because it's just not as sensitive as others, it actually doesn't overload. So on 100 feet wire, of course that Sangean works great. That I got no problem to understand that. KS Banjo. Hey Don, N0YO in Kansas. Nice to have you on board. Started out as a shortwave listener and CBer. KRI 1199, the Central Kansas Groundhog. Cool. Enjoying the show. Nice. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, fast load is Victor Echo 2. Echo Romeo Bravo in Montreal. Circuitous Vibe says, I always expect my NOAA weather radio to say, paying Mr. Armin, patient W. Armin. Oh, man. John Pickney says, I've been retired for 3 months and busier now than I was before. Yeah, I believe you. I've been engaging in other things with all my YouTube stuff. I'm trying to bring my YouTube stuff to another level, and it's already working quite well. I've been having record views overall on every channel. Just this channel, the Shortwave channel, I've actually increased my views by 65% in 6 months. I was looking at my stats. It was yesterday. Just here on this channel, my views this month compared to last month is 37% more. So I'm doing a lot of changes, a lot of things. I'm doing a lot of trying to be inventive and trying to have some innovation in the videos to boost everything. It is kind of fun today to talk about CB radio, honestly. I mean, it's where a lot of us started. A lot of us did that thing of, you know, having a CB radio in our home or a walkie-talkie of some sort. I mean, I remember the first talkie. I was just so amazed. Hey guys, if you like what I do, don't forget that you can actually give a little PayPal donation. It's much appreciated. PayPal.me/shortwave, or if you're on PayPal, just send it to the Yahoo email that I actually post here. It's really appreciated. It helps a lot, and it really helps me in maintaining the shows. I mean, I got 2 shows a week now. I have and am here all the time, and of course it's something that is you know, if you like the content, if you like what I do, please don't hesitate. Think about it as a subscription of some sort. We do live shows that are 2-3 hours at a time, even more. So if you know, I post a lot of content on the channel every week. If you like what I do, think about a little something. Okay. What else? Toby Allen, how is it with antennas? I live in an area where it is not allowed with a huge antenna outdoors. Can I use a service like WebSDR and not have an antenna? Well, the thing is that there's online receivers that you can use to listen to, and of course no antennas because you're using somebody else's receiver. It's really if you have a receiver, you know, in your home, then having an outdoor antenna becomes almost something you need to do. Simplio says, I use the radio R108 because it seems to pull in signals better. The radio is like a little brother of the D808. Yep, it is nice. The R108 is beautiful. It's this one here, actually. It's a beautiful little portable also. Matt says, worked a call on Svalbard Archipelago, which is way north of the Arctic Circle, part of Norway, earlier today. Oh wow, this is cool. No, Scott Reed, it was cell phones, not cordless phones. On the 800 megahertz. I would hear cell phones on 800 megahertz. From 870 to 890 megahertz. They were really cell phones, not cordless. Way back when the cell phones were analog. Oh yes, I remember, John Pigney. I had a black and white TV, and that would have the you know, those channels, the sets that went to the older sets, because the later sets stopped at channel 60. Wait. I'm trying to remember. The new set stopped at UHF channel. Well, what was the channel? It's 57 or something like that. I don't remember. But the old sets at the channel up to what, 69? Something like that. And I remember I had one old black and white TV, and I could sometimes hear cell phone calls by using that fine-tuning knob. I didn't say too many radios, did I? Hey, Mr. Paul is back. He was here earlier. And so here's the mascot, Mr. Paul, saying hello once again to everybody. And of course, he's enjoying. He had just had a little nap. And so saying hi to everybody. Let's just put it like this. So, of course, our mascot is here. And, no, I don't have too many radios. What went through my mind? Too many radios. Too many radios. Dr. Sissop, 93.95 jam, but 77.80 coming in. Huh. Simply, has anyone did a compare which scanner will do the best in performance of airband reception through the years? Well, there was a lot of reviews and comparing of scanner radios in magazines and over time, and of course some are better at others in performance. That absolutely. I've had some crappy scanner radios. I, in the early 90s, was the kind of guy that would buy all the new Radio Shack scanners every time they came out. I would always want that new one. And I did that for several years, and it costs a fortune. But, you know, that was my fun. And I remember it was a Pro, wow, what was that scanner radio? A Pro 94 or something. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember exact model. It was the first one that Radio Shack came out with that went to portable scanner, I'm talking, that went to 1.3 gigahertz. That scanner was the crappiest scanner I ever owned in my life. It overloaded on everything. Obviously, it was bad. WS7I, you can never have too many radios until you're married. And she's not a radio geek. Oh, man. I was about to say something so bad. You can never have too many wires until you have radios. That's bad. Brent, never have too many antennas. That's that. Look, it goes with the radios. You want to have tons of radios, you gotta have tons of, you gotta have tons of antennas. Kimberly, did adding a Wednesday show help? Well, it did help on the views, that's for sure, because my live shows are fairly popular. So adding another show did add, of course, a lot of views in a month. And it's kind of so of course it's part of all of that for sure. Robert Page says the Citizens Band radio service originated in the United States as one of the several personal radio services regulated by the FCC. These services began in 1945 to permit citizens a radio band for personal communications. In 1948, the original CB radios were designed for operation on 460 to 470 megahertz UHF. There were two classes of CB radio, A and B. The B class radios had simpler technical requirements and were limited to a smaller frequency range. Wow. A.I. Gross established the Citizens Radio Corporation during the late 40s to manufacture Class B handhelds for general public. That's interesting. I never really looked at much at the story of where it all came from. I never really did look at all of that lingo and wonder where all of that was coming from. Actually, it is interesting, totally interesting actually. So here we go. It's here we go, like this. There we go. Look at that. Look at that cat. Look at that cat. Wait. Let's do this. And here we go. This is Mr. Cat wanting to be really comfy right now. Yep. Yeah, man. Oh, God. So, anyways, kind of nice to have that. Victor Sisop says, winter now, snow soon, nowhere to go in Canada. Yeah, well, we're still a little far away from snow here, Montreal especially. Can tell you that. Let's go down here and see what else we have. 83. That's the thing. 83. I was trying to remember where the channels went. I went to 83. I remember it was super high. The highest frequency we had a channel we had something on here was channel 62. And part of my fun, when you're a radio geek, you're a radio geek. And part of my fun was to tune in to different UHF channels or VHF channels and try to find stations, TV stations I could hear on that black and white TV. And basically, one day I remember there was I was tuning around the channels, and on channel 62 there was just a text that said, "This is a test transmission by whatever channel, and we want your reports on this phone number if you are receiving us." And I remember calling my best friend that was also kind of geeky a little bit and saying, "Hey, tune to channel 62, there's something there." No problem, WF7I. Don't eat too many tacos. Patrick Manny, nice to have you here. The official Paul DX show, co-starring Joel. John DX, sir. Yeah. Rodrigo Galter, nice to have you here. He loves to, Pauvre petit chat. Pro 96 was the first RS portable to do P25. Okay. I don't remember. Was it a Radio Shack Pro? Was it 94? It was crappy, anyways. Michael Sauter, yes, we did have Burkhat scanners in Canada, but those were in more specialized electronic stores or ham radio stores. In Radio Shack here, we had pretty much only Realistic and Radio Shack branded scanners for the most part. Take care, Matt. Always nice to have you on board. Yeah, Rob. I remember guy like being such a going to the Radio Shack store around like October and probably being I was like every day and saying, oh, do you have the new catalog, the new catalog for next year, the new catalog for next year? No, it's supposed to come soon. Don't come here every day. Yeah, I want to have a new catalog. I remember looking at these catalogs and it was like, oh man. Raymond Kisner, nice to have you here. Yes, Mr. Paul. Beautiful little cat. Mr. Paul is a beautiful little kitty. There, guys. A little more of Paul for you guys. He is a beautiful little kitty. Very happy cat. Actually purring like crazy right now. It's just crazy. He's really, really a nice cat. And he's a beautiful cat in every way. He just got a great personality too. Really nice. Let's go down here. Jerry DX says, hearing some activity on 5275. Yeah, it could be some of those local Quebec guys. There's something here. What's that? Okay, that's the radio teletype stuff. Kind of interesting. Yeah, what do we have here? That's Cuba. Kind of interesting, all this stuff. There it is. Johnny here, so he wants to play with CB radio. Kimberly says, love trying to be a ham whose husband is not a ham and he won't ever be. Simply Paul, the DX Cat says FCC can't do radio until he is petted. Absolutely. Absolutely. Patrick Manny says FCC repack of TV Spectrum ruining my TV reception. Oh man. Ronan Kisner says here in good old USA we import Canada snow and ice and Canadian hockey. Jeffrey Hunt, do you like to work with electronics too? I like designing or repairing electronic circuits. Are you just into RF stuff? I used to. It's something I don't do anymore. Mostly for lack of time, honestly. But one of the fun things that I would have was building all sorts of little circuits. I would look in magazines and I would see, oh, look at that. There's a, I don't know, LED Christmas tree flasher thing. And you'd have to buy the parts, and I would go and get the LED parts and all the electronic parts and, build them on the little circuit board and hook up all the wires and stuff from the schematic diagram. That was part of some of the fun I actually had a lot when I was younger, basically. I'll give you an example here. The last time I did something was like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. And here's the example. This is the last thing I built because it was cheap and I wanted to do something. Now, it's a radio, but it could have been something else and I would have bought it, but I thought it was kind of fun. This is the Elenco AM radio. And so this I actually, so you got the parts, you got the circuit board, and you just build it yourself. And I built that in like several years ago, and it works great actually.
How they decide to use their matchups between
There you go.
Sherrod and Petrie with Mete and Weber with those two lines.
And don't forget, when Claude Julien joined Tony before the season started,
I was just about to get to it.
Tony, you go ahead, because he spoke of...
Until Monday at Renault Depot, check out our huge selection and get 20% off the product of your choice when you spend $100 or more. In-store.
That works great actually. Works really, really great. And I have one that I haven't built yet. That I need to build. It's an AM/FM radio. And the thing is I need time, and I have a lot of problems with finding time for something, which is probably the biggest issue right now in my life. Finding time to relax and do something, just, Tony Turtle, nice to have you here. Heard the French station F5 LDY on 40 meters CW today. Cool. That is cool. Jason Pongratz, nice to have you here. Been a while. Yes. Always nice to have you on board. Yeah, doing great here. I don't know if it's the CB radio theme that we're having today, but have you noticed that, because, as we do live shows that last several hours, usually we have kind of a declining audience as time goes by, but we've been maintaining ourselves at like 150 all time. I think there's a thing going on here. The fact that we have kind of, CB radio probably joins a big chunk of the audience that are ham radio operators, shortwave listeners of any kind. We kind of, a lot of us dabbled and were in, in CB radio at some point. John Todd, nice to have you here. WB5HHT from in hot Katy, Texas. 97 degrees. Whoa, that's hot. That's hot. Back in the days, we hams used to call the CB the children's band. Yeah, there was a lot of, you're talking about that, but even today, there's a lot of, not hatred, but there's a lot of hams that regard a CBer as a inferior, life form because they don't have a ham license or anything. I've never, it's different, and I don't regard it necessarily that way. I think, there are some really serious and good CBers that are professional and know what to talk about. Here we have a gang that I've heard so many times in the past 6 months or so at night on a single sideman, and the guys really know what they're talking about. I mean, they're not ham operators when they talk about that, but they actually do know their thing. They know what they talk about, and they have knowledge, So, it's in the both sides. I've heard ham radio operators that have so little knowledge in radio that you're like, you got a ham license and you don't know nothing about radio or what? This is crazy. Oh, man. Rodrigo Galter, listening to Shortwaves in Brazil, turned on live with my Texan PL600. Cool. Nice to have you on board always. Really cool. Terry Cook, Jeremy, GRE made most of the realistic branded scanners. Yep, absolutely. GRE was the company in Taiwan that would make most of the Radio Shack scanners. Absolutely. Brent says Radio Shack was great in the day. It just felt right there. Oh man, it's just so cool. So cool. Max Edstrong, nice to have you here. Used to worship the Radio Shack catalog. Absolutely. Everybody is great here, and I think there's one thing that's positive about all of us here on the channel is being able to bring along not just, because we say it all the time, a group of radio guys and gals that are, because most of the time we listen alone in our man cave or whatever, and here we get together in some form. And it's interesting because when you look at who's, how many people watching, how many people actually interacting, you see that most people don't say a word. Most of the people watching are not interacting with us. But they are watching and they are there. And even if they don't interact, they will read the chat room. They'll feel like they are part of this big group. Because even if you don't interact, I think we can say safely that we all are happy to have even the people that just are watching. And maybe in their own little home, they have a radio. And Matambali sent me a great email. And I didn't answer back yet, Matambali, but let me just resume it in a very, very interesting way, is that it expresses what I think most of us feel as radio enthusiasts, is the fact that we are alone in our hobby. We are fascinated by our hobby. We are fascinated with what's happening. There's something, it's difficult to explain what we have here, because I'm sure all of you have noticed that we all have in our lives people that look at us and say, wow, you're weird. Really listening to that static stuff and that little signal from I don't know where. And most people were like, who cares? At the most, some people were like, oh, okay, oh, kind of cool. But nothing more. There's something that we have that obviously, I don't know if it's the understanding of how wonderful it is to listen to a signal from far away with a little radio. But a lot of us do feel alone in our hobby. A lot of us do it in our man cave or women cave, or that's your thing, and you're talking with somebody else. And what this show and what this is and what this is, that's what I want it to be, is to have everybody feel welcome. Anybody that is a little geeky about radio, and let's face it, I think we're all weird in our own way. Honestly, I know I'm weird in my way, in my own way. A friend of mine that did some psychology stuff told me once, he said, you know what? You are, with what you do and the live shows you do and all of that, and the way you interact with people in the bar, you're a weird geek that is socially adapted. And I started laughing when she told me that. I was like, yeah, it's kind of that, a weird geek, socially adapted. But we are probably a little weird, a little special in our way, in our way of doing things and of being who we are and doing this this hobby. And this here is where we all meet, because it's just great. Because we feel comfortable with each other. We feel comfortable being here. And we feel comfortable. And I think what attracts a lot of people that find this place for the first time and that are radio listeners, geeky people in their own little man cave, is that, oh, I'm not alone doing this. And this is so cool. Yeah, Allied, Lafayette. Yeah. These catalogs made us drool so much. Well, WCBS does come on 880 on that one if I tune it well, but there's too much noise around. It's not the best place to tune it. Yes, we need to give ourselves a round of applause. Absolutely. Oh, man. Yeah, we were on earlier on 27555 or Dr. Sisop. Can try it again, see if anything's there. There was some stuff earlier. We heard a guy in before you arrived, Dr. Sisop. There was a guy in Puerto Rico, 27555, making contacts. Technical Todd says worked at the largest drugstore in the world as head tech at the CB shop in the heyday of CB. Wow, this is cool. Yeah, it is a great place for newcomers, and that's also something I want, because I think one of the things that I also noticed about this is when I started, I had no info, no news. It's just I didn't know where to get anything about shortwave. I didn't know what it works. I didn't, it's when I started having books and started, probably what gave me the most information about my hobby was when I probably joined a radio club for the first time. Now there was, and when I found, Popular Communications and Monitoring Times. Now I learned radio. I learned a lot of stuff. But man, that's one of the things I wanted to do here was to try to bring radio to the audience that doesn't know what it is. YouTube is a very young age viewership. Okay, the average age of YouTubers or viewers of YouTube are like 21 years old. It's a big thing for teenage and young adults. And it's interesting because I'm in all my channels pretty much are in a bracket of viewership that is much older in age on average. And that's one thing that I'm proud of, is to have been able to get a viewership of older people that are not necessarily, into YouTube much, but they are, they found something that appeals to them, Kimberly says, oh, by the way, thank you so much for not having intro music on your channel. Oh my gosh, I just like that. I just want to tell everyone. I have been bashed for not having intros, saying that it's unprofessional. And I always answer back, think what you want, but not having an intro before a video is my thing. It's the way I do it. If you're not happy, there's other channels you can go. Because I am also annoyed. When you go to a video about, okay, I will show you today how to clip a diode to get airband on the KCX 9943334. But you have a 1-minute intro before the video. It's like, yeah, okay. Come on. I want. Where's the diode? That's all I want to know. I want to have a especially like you get a 30-second intro for a 2-minute 30 video. It's like, oh, come on, please. Okay, let's move on. Let's do something. I want to learn. I don't want to have that intro. So that's kind of my way of doing things, Joe, nice to have you on board. It's okay. What's nice when people say at least something. I want to try to say something here. We're not necessarily all talkers, and a lot of people are shy. That's one of the first thing I noticed about group is a lot of people are shy, and they because you learn when people, or if I meet guys that have seen my show, they're like, I'm that, oh, you're that guy there that talks to tons of people like you're talking to your friends in your living room. which is, yeah, I'm talking to tons of people, like I'm talking to friends in my living room. It's pretty accurate. But, you know, most people are not like that. Most people are kind of shy. Most people are a little back, you know, they want to be in the background noise and not really show more than another. So a lot of people don't interact because of that. And you don't have to talk. Honestly, you don't have to talk. You can just say hi. Once. That's it. But also I respect the people that just aren't interacting. Because I remember back in the days when I was doing some BBS stuff in the bulletin boards, the first time I actually saw a live chat, I was terrified to say hello. And I look at it today and I think, wow, that's so weird. Why was I so terrified of saying hello? But at the same time, I was. And I know a lot of people are like that. A lot of people are like, no, I don't, you know, I just watch it and that's okay. I don't want to interact. I don't want you to mention my name, you know. So just be. It's okay, you know. And it's all right. I was like that at some point also, and I totally understand the feeling. But I got to say at the same time that everybody is welcome here. If there is one of the most friendliest groups and the friendliest places on the net, I think, and on YouTube in general, I think this wins the #1 spot in we are all just a great bunch of people that want to have fun together, and that's it. Nothing else. Who cares? We don't want, you know, we don't want to pretend we're better than anybody else. We all learn. Everybody here learns something. Nobody here is, I know everything and I don't learn from your channel. I'm sure pretty much everybody here learned a little something from here and there. No, not necessarily a lot, because there's some people out there with tons of knowledge. It's obvious when I see your posts. But we all have that dark side, that side of our hobby where we never really dabbled much, you know. One of mine is antennas. I've never really went to antennas, and then I see somebody talk about antennas, like these big long posts about technical stuff, and I'm like, okay, you know, I got a loop. I got a loop antenna. Is that okay? But, you know, maybe not that much. But I mean, we all have our side of the technology that we don't know that much about. There's always a little something in our hobby we don't. You know, some of us have radios. You don't necessarily want to know the electronics behind it. I do, but I'm that kind of guy. But for a lot of people, all I want to know is, I got a radio, and how do I have it working? I don't want to know how it works. I don't want to know why it works. I just want to listen to something. That's also the hobby, you know. We're different kinds, you know. That's not the kind of guy that's going to, you know, start building this type of kit here and say, hey, look at that, I built a radio. And it's okay. We all have our own unique way of being in the hobby. Brent says, good point about CB radio. I think everyone should be respected for making the effort to be or on listening to the radio. You know, there are some bad AM operators out there that are worse than a CB than a lot of CBers, honestly. Johnny DXer, crazy music on Radio Romania 7310. Oh man. Shelly Sykes, I only found your channel a couple of months ago and I've tried to catch the live shows. I am without any radio right now, but really enjoy the shows. And that's cool. Maybe you don't have to have a radio to really enjoy. There are online SDRs you can use also, you know. Technical Todd landed his big fish, never letting it go. Got a mint condition Grundig G5. Oh, don't let go of that radio. It's an amazing radio. I can tell you that. Eat Kit. They had amazing kits. Absolutely. They were great. They were great. Raymond Kisner. We are the monks of Radio World. We help bring news and good friendships around the world together. Absolutely. We're here for that. The Sultans of SWL, says John ADXA. Circuitous vibes. I love AM and shortwave radio because it is like sonically digging around in the past for clues about life in a faraway place. Audio archaeology, I find it fascinating. Rob says, I got interested in radio because I enjoy electronics, solar, and space weather. You know, I think we all get there for that, for sure. Watchers are to YouTube streams what pure shortwave listeners are to RF part of the community. Even ham radio QSOs would lose something if we didn't have the notion that someone somewhere may be listening. Absolutely. I'd be talking to myself. I wouldn't be here. You know, Jeffrey Hunt, I don't know what it's like to not be weird. I wouldn't want to be anything else. Yeah, and you know what? We are who we are, and we are like we are, and we got to be happy to be in there. You know, I'm sure all of us got maybe at some point in our life hurt by a comment or by something because of something that we do. You know what? The hell with it. I'm weird. I'm okay with that. If you're not happy, there's, you know, regular people that don't exist, because if you take a look at the general population, everybody's weird in his own way. You know, we're weird in our way. Regular people are weird in another way. That's all. That's all. Oh man. Technical Todd, radio is a word that gets our attention because we love radio. Almost all aspects of it, antenna propagation, frequency checks, clear and long distance comms. Yep. Miggy Dalmich, wait until you get to Winterfest. You'll be right at home. John Pickney, radio is still a mystery. It is. It is a mystery. Invisible waves being decoded by some electronic device. Think about it. It is weird in its own way. Terry Cook, back before Teddy, the Radio Shack catalogs were in newspaper format. Olsen Electronics had a similar newspaper catalog. Oh man. Here in Montreal, we had a store that still exists, I think, called Abra Electronic, ABRA Electronics. They had these really nice thick catalogs, and man, these were so nice to look at also. Keith Logan, nice to have you on board. Raymond Kisner, those catalogs were pure electronic heaven for us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nah, Jerry DX, I don't buy lottery tickets. I don't believe in that. Oh man. Technical Todd, I used to spin the load coils for the Wilson antennas, bunging out of Moline by the company from Utah, and hired about 50 people. Used to help them with quality control. Wow. ARRL simulated emergency test this weekend. Oh, really, Terry? How they're going to do that? John Pickney, as a kid, I looked forward to the Allied and Lafayette catalog as much as Sears. Sears was a big catalog also. If you like toys, for a kid, the Sears catalog was, oh man, I remember watching the Sears catalog and being so amazed at everything in there. That was also something. Oh, wow. Grove Electronics, yep. I remember getting a catalog from Universal Radio in the early 90s. That also was nice. That was also very nice. Oh, man. Yep, Radio Shack was nerd heaven. I would look at the stuff in there, like, you know, intensely on the shelves, and the radios and the electronic stuff. Man, that was great. Jeffrey Hunt, my family would sometimes go to the mall to spend our free time. I would go straight to either Radio Shack or the bookstore. I would go to the I would go to the library and search every week for new radio books. That, of course, they had very few radio books and very few new radio books. So I would often take the same radio book over and over again because I just wanted to read it over and over again. I can tell you that. Yeah, John. Radio Shack asking for a name and address for the mailing list. I remember getting the catalog in the mail. Oh, man. I remember also their battery club where you would have a battery every month. I would always get the 9-volt battery because I knew it was like the best bargain. Getting the 9-volt battery was the deal. Oh, man. Terry Cook, when I went to high school, we had a radio club. We did lots of audio and video stuff for the school. Counselor helped many of us get our amateur license. Man. Technical taught Galaxian and shortwaves. What ruled me in the 80s was shortwave and Commodore computers. David says here in Spain we never had something like Radio Shack, but there are some small electronic stores. And wow, I'd already spent days there. Probably had an equivalent of that, probably. Oh man. I will go and pee for a few seconds because I'm at beer number 4. Believe it or not, this is beer number 4 out of a 6-pack. And my body is telling me that something's got to come out. So I'll be back in a short few minutes to the soothing sounds of, I will leave you guys to the soothing sounds of WWV time signal on 15 megahertz. And we are back. We are back. Hope nobody fell asleep with WWV time signal. Listening to us getting old every second. Oh man. Johnny the Xer, tell you what's worse. That's beyond the content creator's control. YouTube ads every few minutes. Yeah, but you know that's what's paying me. You know, I can't. I get a lot of rant. I remember as a tech guy, a lot of people ranting at ads on you know, Hotmail or Gmail or Yahoo Mail. You know, always telling them, you know, you got the email for free because ads pay for it. You know, and I can't really go nuts over it because that's what's paying me, honestly. And that is something that, you know, unfortunately is part of life sometimes. I got donations, but if I, you know, honestly, if I didn't have ads on YouTube, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be able to live and be able to be here doing this because just the donations are far from being what, you know, is helping out. Rob, I would hang at a Radio Shack, was a nerd, and would go look at the calculators and cool electronic devices. Yep. Jack0022 Tuber, nice to have you here. Where are you from? Yeah, BBS. Just remember, William Conlon, on Wednesdays, just be here at 8 p.m. Eastern, 0 UT, and you'll see our show. Yeah, BBS is before the internet. Absolutely. Absolutely. Nice, says Strong. Such fond memories of summer nights in a hammock with old Sony Shortwave SK Portable 1967. Yep, all are welcome here. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody has a wife who doesn't like us buying stuff. Rob, learn something new every few minutes. We learn something new all the time. Yeah, Jack002Tuber. That's the biggest problem in our hobby, unfortunately, is radio frequency interference. RFI is unfortunately bad. You know, that is the biggest thing. Like you say, Jack, when power goes out, that's where you see that, well, there's tons of signals. It's just that signals are in the noise, you know. I'm happy my Acer Nitro 5 laptop is extremely quiet. Extremely quiet. I'm very happy for that. Yeah, I've seen lots of videos from Mr. Carlson's lab. There's some nice stuff in there for sure. Sertigus vibes. I'm disappointed with just now getting into shortwave DXing with this much RFI. I wish I knew that the old days were like. Yeah, but you know what? Instead of going back and trying to, you know, what was it like in the past? Like people like me that went in the past. Of course, yeah, I do miss. You know, I'll be honest, I miss the 80s when there were tons of stations everywhere. But at the same time, we gotta live with what we have now. No choice. We got no choice. So we gotta live with what we have now. And we're gonna do the best with it. And this channel is here for that. Doing the best with what we have. Doing the best with our listening of radio experience. Finding ways to listen to. Yeah, maybe you can listen to in your living room. But you can go to a park, or you can go somewhere and set up a little piece of wire under a tree, and when it's a beautiful day, go outside and do some listening, do some radio listening, and you'll find that it's fun, and you'll enjoy the outsides. Unfortunately, that's sometimes what we have to do, and we gotta live with our days, and that's the way they are. And it's, yeah, I know there's a lot of noise. I'm one of the first being annoyed at turning on my radio and looking and saying, whoa, okay, look at that noise. Fishkoff, nice to have you here. That's right, we welcome everyone except Romans. We have the bloody Romans ever done to us. Oh, man. You know, it's kind of interesting to see this, and it's fun to have everybody here. No, John Pigney. I never got to go to Wackett Radio in Ottawa. Never. Brent says Ethan's catalog was great too. I never saw Ethan's catalog. My parents had the Sears one because my mom would always buy clothes by Sears catalog. My mom was what is it? Agoraphobic, when you can't go into. When you don't feel comfortable with going in crowded places. So pretty much everything we wore, the clothes, everything, she would order by catalog because she just couldn't go into a store ever, which was, when you think about it, it's sad. So she would buy from the catalog. So we would always have the catalog because we would buy tons of stuff from it. From Sears. Technical Todd, the thing that doesn't seem right to me is when I talk to other people in my life and they just don't like what I am talking about. Radio to them just doesn't. You know, I honestly don't talk about anything I do. Pretty much. If you guys would see my life in a bar, my life in a bar is a second life where I am that in many respects, I am that cool guy that talks about tons of things, except politics and religion, that has a lot of fun, has drinks, can talk about the stuff that people talk in bars. But I would say that, except for Fast Load, because we go to the same bar for beers, I never talk that I do radio. The only thing people know is I do some stuff on YouTube, but nobody really knows what I do, because when I start talking about YouTube, I'm like, I don't want you to know what I'm doing. I do my YouTube stuff, and that's it. I ain't interested in you watching. And I never talk about radio. I never. So, I kind of have two lives, honestly, Technical Todd. The bar life, or the everyday life with other people that I do stuff. And this life. Live shows, radio, geeky computer stuff. I kind of have two parallel lives, if you want. Unfortunately, that's the thing. You know what, Technical Todd? I remember one person asking me, oh, the other day on Facebook you were talking about, you were listening to New Zealand. How do you do that? And you start talking about, well, I have this radio that I tune on different frequencies and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, after like 30 seconds, you see them yawn and you're like, yeah, it's boring, eh? Well, that's how I listen. You asked? That's how I listen to Radio New Zealand. And Todd J. Riddle says, anybody heard good or bad things about a Radio Shack DX390 shortwave radio? It's okay radio, but I remember reading a lot of stuff. You know, it's like a lot of these radios from the time. A lot of radios from the time that are okay. But EHAM, yeah, EHAM, EHAM is the place to see reviews of anything. David KJ4CMO, I don't buy lottery tickets either. You can bet, and you can bet on it. Oh man, it is a waste of money, absolutely. Take care, Tristan Patty. It's nice to have you on board. Yeah, the TRX1 by... oh man, forgot the name of the company. My friend the Fastlane has one. He's very, very happy. Everybody that has the TRX1 is very happy for the decoding digital stuff and everything. Seems to be like a great receiver, honestly. Oh wow, I don't remember that. The Radio Shack lifetime tubes. We were always cooking the 6L6, 6LQ6 in our... Oh man. What did... I'm surprised they're not putting a copy on WWV broadcast. Electronics USA, nice to have you here. Oh, what's the fake WWV time signal on YouTube? I need to check that out. There's a guy that I need to share that. By the way, nice to have you here, Electronics USA from Southern California. I remember there was a guy that sent me the link. There's a YouTube music video in which somebody has taken Arnie Coro and Glenn Hauser ranting at each other. Who is somebody in the chat room shared it with me? I'm trying to remember who. That's kind of nice. WWV for the time of your life. I like that. So Jack002, you're in Springfield, Missouri. Nice to have you here. Jerry K, hello there from North Carolina. What are we drinking tonight? We are drinking an apple-flavored beer because it's that time of the year. So my six-pack is right here, actually. And I got 2 left, and I'm drinking pretty fast, actually. So I'm starting to wonder if I'm not going to go through the 6-pack. I'm having fun. We talked about CB radio today, and you know what? We're having tons of fun today. It's kind of cool. A lot of us started there. Bro Weaver, nice to have you on board. Yes, Halloween special at 20 UT on October 31st. Well, Jeffrey Hunt, that's nice because cats don't complain about radio or electronic gear as long as you take care of them of them. And you know what? Sometimes they like it because if you have some electronic gear that's a little warm in the winter nights, they actually sleep on it. They actually like it. Keisha Escape says, I missed most of the show today because it coincided with the room test live stream. Okay. Red Elva 65, my first summer job in 82, bought a 4-channel crystal control VHF portable scanner from Radio Shack so I could listen to the fire department in New York where they were on VHF. Yeah, I remember when Montreal Police Department was on VHF, around 154 megahertz. Oh man. Sunshine Forever, nice to have you on board from Winnipeg. John Pickney, the great radios of the past weren't so great. They drifted like hell, and for one thing, in selectivity, laugh. You know, my first official radio for shortwave was a Realistic DX100. I just can't believe, John, how it's crappy when I compare it to what we have today. I mean, look at that. Today, you've got this thing that is a killer radio, doesn't drift, has tons of bandwidths, has airband, single sideband, 0 drifting, super sensitive, and this thing costs less, and even a lot less because it costs less because I paid something like $90. The DX100 cost $100 in 1982. So this $90 radio is like buying a $50 radio, $40 radio in 1982. If you take what you know it cost back then, and this is a killer radio that I know I would have had a lot more fun with a frequency display. Where the other one's analog, drifts like crazy, it's almost impossible to tune a single sideband signal on it. But it was my first radio, and it was kind of great, and it was kind of cool. And I heard my first stations, got my first QSLs. And yeah, today I understand it was a really bad radio. Even the DX302 is not a great radio. That was my second radio with a digital readout. The DX302 today might be not too bad. You know why? Because where it suffered was overload. And back in 1985-ish, when I had it, the bands were crowded with tons of strong signals. So it would overload everywhere. Today it might be better because today overloading is more of a very abstract concept of what shortwave overload can be, actually. Technical time. When you pay good money for a radio that does more than you wanted or believe it could do, that's a good day. Yeah, and you know, it was a bad radio, but I didn't know back then. For me, it was a cool looking radio. It was amazing what it could get. Made me happy, and you know, maybe that's the start of things. Circuitous Vibes, your show has helped me to get on board with shortwave listening. I have a park 1 block away. So good idea to listen out there. Absolutely. And it's a great way to, you know, take some fresh air and some sunshine. Yeah, claustrophobia is small spaces. Agoraphobia is the, yeah. That's why. Fishkov, the 80s were beautiful. Now we're like the Knight Templars of the Forgotten Shortwave Kingdom. Yeah. Imagine all the people that listen to Shortwave. And by the way, I'm 10 minutes behind in the chat room. That listen to Shortwave at one point in their life and don't do it today at all anymore. Don't even know this exists. William Collin, what's the best SDR unit you have seen? Well, for price versus performance, I would probably say the SDR Play RSP-18. For the price paid, it's just crazy. Technical Todd, RSP-18 is my baby. Jill proved that 95% of ones cost them 10 times as much. Absolutely. I'm amazed at the performance of that thing. Technical Todd, with sweaters like Jill, you're talking to chicks about things other than radio. Nice sweater, by the way. Hey, baby. What are you doing tonight? Actually, I'm one of the guys that, you know, the way I'm here is the way I'm in a bar, but with other types of subjects. So almost everywhere I go, you know, there's a friend of mine that we've been friends for a long time. He's kind of a shy type. And we go out regularly, have beers at bars. And I don't know how many times he told me, he said, you know, I am jealous, but you sit down at a bar you never went to, with people you've never seen. And I look at you 2 hours into the bar and you are talking to 8 people, having fun, some paying you shots because you're a great guy tonight. And he says, I'm not like that, and I don't know how you can be like that. And I said, I don't know, I just go with the flow and listen and try to like sneak in a conversation with some of the knowledge. It's, you know, it's weird sometimes. It's some people, you know, for me it's easy, and I don't know, but I look at some of my friends and I'm like, yeah, you know, there are some things that you look and you say, well, maybe that's the reason you don't talk to people much, you know. But other times, you know, we're all different. We're all different, you know. A player's sweater. Oh God. Really? Come on. Oh God. Sunshine forever. At the Lake Cottage, I have a 100-foot dipole way up high, and with that antenna, I get many lots of foreign stations. Shortwave is still very active in Europe. Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff. When I go to Perry Island and I come back here, I'm almost depressed at how many signals were over there and how many signals are not listenable here. Sean Pickney, that's one reason why I haven't had call letter plates in my car in ages. Oh man. Technical Todd, dude has the sweater and speaks French. Oh man. KS Banjo, my old radio addiction started in the 7th grade when I found the shortwave column in a popular electronics magazine I found in school library. Oh man. I totally understand you. I can feel how you probably felt at that moment, because I think we all went through the same basic feel at the time of that. The X440 isn't a bad radio actually for the time. Absolutely. Absolutely. Keisha Escape, he's got the TRX-1 scanner. My most favorite radio. I use it all the time. The Whistler, yeah, it's a Whistler, Joe. Whistler TRX-1, everybody loves it. I need to get one, honestly. Sean Murphy Journal, nice to have you here. Montreal is the location. Technical Todd, ATS 909 is the DX398, and I own one. Yes, one of the very best. I think Jill owns one even now. Yeah, here you go. Let's just check it out. DX398, where are you? Where is the radio? Oh, I know where it is. 2 seconds, guys. I'm gonna get it. It's in the bedroom. So here we go, guys. This is the original ATS 909. In my case, it came in the form of the Radio Shack DX 398, and very heavy but beautiful radio. A little deaf on the telescopic, but like we talked earlier, put a 50 feet wire on this thing and you'll DX the world. No drift. Nice to see the and single sideband when you're tuning, you actually have about 40 hertz precision, which is an extra nice feature. Separate lower upper sideband. Love this radio. Love this radio. Okay, let's try to catch up a little bit in the chat. I'm 11 minutes beyond, guys. Hang in there. If you said hello, I'll say hello. Don't worry. Technical Todd, going to have to send Joe some Land Shark beers and Blue Agua tequila. Oh man, I'll be drunk. What is the best old HF? What? Clint Johnson, nice to have you here. It's local. Well, it's a because it's apple time, so I've got my apple flavored beer today, and I am soon to open beer number 5, and I have noticed while getting the DX398 that I am kind of a little drunk. Quinn Johnson, ever get any aliens come through one of your radio setups? I would like to, honestly. Oh man. No, the XH data is much more than a C-Crane Skywave, I can tell you that, Kish Escape. It has tons of features that the Skywave doesn't have. It's a very unique and its own radio, honestly. Technical Todd owns the 880, 660, and from Texan, and the 909 did better. It is a beautiful radio, absolutely. What else do we have? Well, it's just that the well, if you're talking of the DX398 slash Sangeum 909, it's just that it's a little bit deaf, but I think it's because of that. With a long wire, it actually is pretty amazing. Oh man, what else do we have? John Pickney, been here 3 hours plus. Have some chores. Take care, my friend. Nice to have you on board as usual. GRF says, try the Collins 390A from the 50s, 60s. Digital die, very stable. Was about 80 pounds. Well, you know, if you've watched my Wednesday show, I was tuning around the old Grundig satellite transistor 6001. It's a 1969 radio. And basically, that thing is a million times better. And it's super, super stable. Technical Todd, Jill doesn't leave the bar alone. Yeah. Let's say that if I don't want to leave the bar alone, I will not leave the bar alone. That I can attest to. But I don't usually because I'm kind of not. I'm a very difficult guy. GRF. I did the bar scene every weekend for over 5 years thinking I could meet the girl of my dreams. Not. I think you can meet anywhere. And it all depends. You don't need to go to a bar, honestly. Technical Tom. Technically, people think I'm a loser because of my radio passion, but I wow them with my flatulence. Oh, God. But today, you know, there's so much... it's funny because that's where we gotta, I think, draw the line where someone might make us feel like bad because of whatever we do or we are, but honestly, we're all just great people, and that's it. Technical Todd, I have heard that the Grundig G5 beats out the Sony 7600 on sensitivity. Oh, I don't know. You'll have to... The G5 is amazing, I have to say. Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you on board from Tennessee. Matt, beer number 5. Wow, we might be in a record-setting night. Beer number 5, guys. I am drunk. I gotta say. But you know what? I'm happy tonight because I had one of those shitty days that you just wake up and you go through your day, and about an hour before doing the live show, I was like, yeah, I feel like this is a crappy day today and I have to do a live show and smile to everybody. But honestly, I think this has been like a therapy for my day because we talk about good old days, CB radio, and just so much fun. So, you know, it's kind of cool. We're at 3 hours, 30 minutes. So, we'll see how it goes and where it goes, actually. What do you think? And we maintain an audience that is pretty good. I mean, we've barely gone through below 130. We had a lot of times when it was around 150. I think everybody's having a lot of fun, honestly. GRF, how about an alien ghost? Jean-Marc Letz, I miss listening to Radio Tahiti Papit in French Polynesia on 15 megahertz band, 80s, with local music. Okay, you know what, Jean-Marc? I would listen to RFO, Radio France Outre-mer, from French Polynesia on the 40 meter band. They were on 7170 or something like that back then. I would actually wake up at 5 in the morning when I was a teenager to tune in to that frequency, to listen to them, listen to the music and the programming. I would wake up in the morning DXing some exotic signals that I could not hear in the daytime or anywhere else again. You know, it's like any other time of day. I would love late afternoon summers listening to 31 meter and 41 meter and 60 meter band as time went by. African stations. I remember listening to, that's when I got my DX302, because I had the frequency display. Tuning in to 4VEH IET on 4930. I actually got a QSL card here from that. Oh man, I'm going back in time here. I can tell you that. Crazy. There's some talk again on 5275. I was surprised to hear some French language kind of bush radio around 4 megahertz yesterday. Let me check something here. By the way, you guys, around 0 UT, almost every night I was hearing Mars Military Auxiliary Radio System signals on 4011, 4017, and 4033 almost every night around 0 UT. Casey Red Dragon, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. B, nice to have you on board, Tim. Nice to see that you are still a down-to-earth guy with your sister's fabulous bunny. Yeah, we'll always be there. I mean, that is so special for me. Chromite, nice to have you here. Santé, everybody. Cheers. Jerry DX talking about a drinking song. I want you to... What was the song? Was that? The next whiskey bottle. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. That would be a great song at the karaoke for me. The Doors is usually a great, pretty, almost, you know, Light My Fire, stuff like that at the karaoke for me is good. With the voice I got. Oh, man. Technical Todd. Kid walks by with red wagon full of duct tape. Says he's hunting ducks. Old man says whatever. Oh, man. Yeah, Radio Tahiti. That was amazing. John DDX, your radio is quite therapeutic. Absolutely. 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 Let's just go down, see what is. Try to meet up with your guys a little bit. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Carl, nice to have you on board. Jack, BBC and Deutsche Welle. You know, BBC, unfortunately, it's now because of this time of year, but this summer, what I enjoyed and loved, BBC chose a frequency on 7300 at 0 UTC that was actually making it so well to North America, and it was really, really nice, because it brought me back to that time when I was listening to the BBC all night, and it was really, really nice. I'll tell you that. Pirate Station in Denver on 6916. Let's check out 6900. Any pirates over there? There's something. This is new. This is really wideband signal here. There doesn't seem to be any pirates really right now here in the 6 megahertz range. Kimberly, you meet some sketchy people in bars. Better stick to the produce section and the grocery store for potential mates. I like that. You know, bars are bars. And yeah, there are some weird people everywhere. I think there's probably a lot of weird people in the produce section of the grocery store also. Neeson Greenwich, nice to have you on board from Dublin. Just back from work at the Irish Film Institute. Screening Joker. You liked it? Pretty cool. 3587, some Olivia. 3587. Anything here? Something here. Oh, look at that. What's that mode? What is that mode? not working right now. Oh, I hate that. Port audio not available. Okay. Yeah. That sounds like Olivia 16500. Does multi-PSK do that? I guess. No sound card. Okay. Oh, that is weird. Okay. I got some kind of problem with my Insider Preview, I guess. Because that machine is on the Windows Insider Preview, so it's like on a weird version of Windows. Oh, man. What else do we have? Carl, what can you... A Drunken Sailor. Yeah, Break On Through. Alabama song. They're all great songs. The Doors were great. Dr. Tin. Yeah, I'm talking to everybody in the chat room. Yep, 7300, but it hasn't been. It's been good until about late August. It's been very weak lately because we're getting, the seasons are changing propagation. But try it anyway. 7300 at 0 UTC. It's a 1 hour broadcast every day. Man, this summer it was making it all summer real strong. Man, it felt like the BBC days of the 80s. I can tell you that. Technical Todd. Jill gets the girl home. Paul helps woo her. Chromite 6900. Who don't love that cute kitty Paul? Yeah, everybody loves Paul. I mean, it's just crazy. Well, lucky you, man. An ICOM R75 is an amazing receiver, Dr. Tin. Honestly. It's an amazing radio. Amazing radio. EAM Air Force message. Let's try that. For 724. See if there's some activity. Lots of Kodar. Let's try, it's dark outside. Let's try the buzzer. 4625. No buzzer. 44-1. That doesn't ring a bell. 44-15 upper sideband. Some weather facts. Station. That's nice. That's kind of nice. Huh. Okay. Don't worry, I understood it was EAM. I got a ICOM ICR 8500 in my room here, which is right here. Unfortunately, it's not plugged to any antennas right now because the M6 W6 LVP loop, is on the Grundig receiver, and I need to set up my UHF antenna back. Take care, Keegan. Always nice to have you on board, my friend. Hey, Matt. No problem. That's being a parent for you. Casey Red Dragon not getting the buzzer. Pirate on 6939, JRDX. Let's check it out. No, KC Red Dragon, you're actually listening to 6607. Let's check it out. Which is 4XZ Israeli station, 6607. It just ID'd in Morse code for XZ. So VVV for XZ for XZ. That is Israel Maritime Station. That is also kind of, we think, maybe used for some spy stuff when they send these 5-letter groups. Thanks, Matambali in Colorado. For I was thinking, I thought it could be VCO in Sydney weather, but I wasn't sure. But yeah, it's probably that. Yeah, kind of a coded station if you want. They send these, sometimes they send these 5-letter encrypted groups for hours at a time. And then they come back to just, okay, for XZ. So we know it's from Israel. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you on board, my friend. Yeah, Control W to save the workspace on the SDR Uno software. Yep. Control W to save the workspace, absolutely. 6939, let's check it out. Anything there? Yeah, there's something there. Around 6939.2-ish, and it's an AM mode. Very weak, but there's something there, 6939-ish. Absolutely. Yeah, the MLA30, you'll be happy. It's a great antenna. It's not expensive, and it's really, really an amazing antenna, honestly. Yeah, that very wideband signal here from like 68, 70 all the way up to 69, 20-ish. Really, really crazy. No, I've not downloaded the frequency list for now. So, hey guys, if you like what I do, I know I'm annoying, asking for stuff, but if you like what I do, paypal.me/shortwave, PayPal donation, really helps out. And you know, I do these live shows that are very long and very, you know, it's like I'm here all the time. If you guys like what I do, you know, we had fun tonight. Did you have fun? How about showing some appreciation? And of course, I totally understand that some people can't, of course. And so paypal.me/shortwave or to the Yahoo email. You can send a PayPal donation anytime. You can, you know, think about it as a subscription. Give a one donation once a year and say, hey, I'm going to give you this. It's once a year. This is the donation. It's like a subscription to Gel Live Shows. I mean, you know, you guys enjoy what you see, enjoy, you know, being a great gang together, and we are all having fun with radios. Well, you know, think about it. What's important to think also is that this is my, you know, this is my work. This is my paycheck. So, you know, it helps out tremendously. You guys have no idea how donations have helped me out through the years, especially when YouTube monetization was so bad. So, you know, think about it if you like what I do, and spare a little something. Any amount helps. No worries. And don't worry if you can't spare any change. It's okay. I mean, not everybody can do. And thanks for the donations, guys. Okay. Hey, we're on for 30 hours and 44 minutes. Yeah, the MLA30, you're going to have a lot of fun. This is an amazing antenna. We got to say it. I mean, you can say whatever you want, and here on the channel I want to say what I can say, and I want to talk about stuff like they are. You know, you think about it, and I think about it sometimes, you know, like I got a W6 LVP loop, and I you know, I appreciate Larry W6LVP that came back and said, well, I would add this, those filters because you got some strong stations where you are and so on. But honestly, I got an antenna that in total with everything that it cost me was a $600 antenna. And then you get that MLA30 that is a $60 antenna instead of $600. It's amazing. And you're thinking, you know what? This is crazy how such a cheap antenna, cheap priced antenna, can perform so well. One of the first things that I noticed when I actually got the antenna, the loop, was it's so small compared to the W6LVP. It can't be as good. The loop is so small. And you plug it in and you start playing around and you're like, man, this thing is amazing. The first hour with the MLA30, I was blown away. I was like, wow, I could have had 10 MLA30s for the price of the W6LVP. So it's crazy, Hey, Pete, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. Received his MLA30 today. Not installed it yet. Installed it outside, but I tried it in my hallway this afternoon and it performed as well as my PAR end-fed shortwave, which is installed on my roof. So, this is great. I mean, the MLA30 is blown away a lot of the things. And, we got to come back to one thing very, very, very important in our hobby. We are always talking about how we want to have people come to the hobby. But let's face it. You won't bring people back to the hobby with $1,000 radios and $500 antennas. If you don't know if you're going to like a hobby, you're not going to spend that amount of money. Yet, you got to wow them from the start, because let's face it, what made us stay in our hobby or keep our interest in here? We were wowed by whatever we had. I was wowed because I was lucky to be in that period of time when there were so many stations that even my crappy realistic DX100 would still get a lot of stations. We were wowed. I was wowed. I was like, wow, this is incredible. That radio is the first night I got a radio and I got 30 different countries. This is so cool. And today you got to have that. So you have that in how many ways and how you're going to have it. Today where it's complicated is we are bringing into the hobby. Something that is difficult because we're bringing people into the hobby where there's tons of noise. Something that a lot of us that have been there for a long time, we didn't know what noise was much about in like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Today we live with noise. We know what it is. So, you can wow with this, but then again, somebody might say, oh, he says this is great. Buy it. Come home. And the first time he tunes it was like, okay, I'm not getting anything. I'm actually getting WRMI 9395.
A saving relationship with the God of the Bible. Those who are not truly saved will be judged.
So, even with the noise I got here, I'm getting that actually, which is kind of funny. But, I mean, most people will tune it and say, I ain't getting anything. Somebody was telling me, I was reading a post the other day. Somebody was saying, I had this radio and I actually returned it. I thought it was broken until I saw your channel And I understood that, oh, it was probably not broken after all. It was probably just that there was so much noise that I couldn't get anything. So, you know. Hey, thank you, Circuitous Vibes, for becoming a Patreon. A patron on patreon.com. Pagemaster says, truly enjoys my series. Also reading the chat from different meter banders from around the world. And Robert Page says, got two MLA30 antennas, one facing north and south, the other one facing east and west, into the RSP-1A radio. So, cool. This is cool. And I think it's a great way to just, you know, understand that these radios are great and these antennas are great. And, you know, the MLA30 loop, whether you like China or not, whether you're happy that there's Chinese stuff that costs a tenth of the price of whatever is built here, you know, here in Canada it's the same thing. A lot of people here in Canada are mad at China because of, you know, cheap stuff that we buy and we don't buy it here because of that. But at some point you gotta think about what is right, and what is right is that we work hard for our money. I work hard to get my money off of YouTube and everything. If you'd see a work day, if you'd see how I build my weeks, I don't sit on a chair in my office and just say, wow, let's have a beer, let's have a coffee, let's watch Netflix, and magic will bring money. And no, it doesn't work like that. And you got to understand that if you want to bring people to the hobby, it's got to be the cheapest way possible. And the MLA30 fits in there. It's an amazing antenna for a price that a lot of people can afford. That's the thing. That's the thing. Tony Turtle, 40 meters, 7033 CW. Yes, Brett Wayne, you got to get the MLA30. You'll be happy. Jean-Marc, never found IET's 4 VEH signal on my radio. The only QSL I got from the Caribbean is a Caribbean beacon. Yeah, but that's a long time ago. I don't know, Jean-Marc, how long you've been listening to Shortwave, but I can tell you that. Yeah, Technical Todd. For $100, you can get the radio hour and the MLA30. For $130, you can get the XH Data D808 and MLA30. It's just crazy. So it's just crazy, you know, when you think about it. Jeff Barrett's checking the mailbox every day. Isn't that a bummer when you're waiting for something you really want, and it's every day looking at a mailbox and it just isn't there? Isn't that always kind of a bummer? You're like, yeah, I'm waiting for that thing, but man, it's never arriving. I'm never getting that thing. Radio R108 is this one here. This one doesn't have single sideband, but the XH D808 is probably what he was talking about. Carl, they have that loop antenna on eBay for $40.89. Can't go wrong. It's an amazing, amazing antenna. I can tell you that. Brian Penny says, I bring my MLA30 mounted on PVC pipe and my XH Data D808 to the beach. Both have been impressive and both are great for travel. There you go. There you go. Yeah, the radio out doesn't have SSB, single sideband. If you can afford it, go to the XH Data D808. Totally. Totally. It's just crazy. Tollmaster, nice to have you here. CountyCom GP5, great radio. The ETM function, the easy tuning mode, is amazing. Yeah, when you have no tracking numbers, that's the worst because you gotta just, yeah, wait. Hey, John McClure, you're just 3 hours and 55 minutes late. And yeah, that at the same time, you're never late. So, hey guys, hope you enjoyed the show. I'm sorry, John McClure, but it's that time where I'm going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm a little hungry, and okay, Technical Todd, I will do it. You'll have that coming in the coming week. I never did compare them. Eh? I will compare them. I'll do the GP5 against the XH data. Promise. There are probably a few more radios I could also do the compare. Even a good old Radio Shack DX398. So I hope you enjoyed this show, guys. We've been on for 3 hours 56, and I need to eat something because I drank a lot of alcohol. I'm drunk, and I'm going to listen to the radio. Well, I think I'm going to make some kind of pasta, like, you know, some kind of fettuccine alfredo or something. I feel like eating pasta tonight. So take care, my friends. Hope you enjoyed. We went down memory lane with CB Radio a lot today, and it was a lot of fun. Remember, we have shows 2 times a week. Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, 0 UTC. And Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, 20 hours UTC. Take care. Don't forget to do that PayPal donation if you like what I did. And stay safe. Have a great weekend, guys. See you next week. Love you all. And listen to that radio. Lots of stuff. Lots of stuff on the radio. Bye, everyone. Stay safe.